Chapter 137. The test chapter will be read in the morning. He was afraid that Ku had a lot of centers. He was in front of Huerue to see Ku. Sheng Shue's head was big. He was in charge of the main class. Seeing Ku, Sheng Shue wanted to go up and take a look. His body was moving up and down, but in front of him, Huerue was acting like a god in the rough boss position. It was true that Zhu Zhuang's children were born with a bear's hair, and Sai Luo had to run to his clan's house to carry him out. Moreover, he had to. He was rough when the wind was doing things. The man's discipline was small and restrained. Rough 3 Big 5 was Hongwu Tengzai. The Daoist said with a bitter smile. Huerue arrived in front of him in a hurry. He brought along the great martial arts. At that time, the Great Mother Yu arrived to see each other for 1 li. This time, the Great Mother Yu arrived to be surprised and frightened by the dragon. How come Li Liu is still the same? How come Li Liu said to Hui Rui that the temperament of a woman who came out of the honey can almost mature into a stock? Li Liu said to Hui Rui. She was surprised, shocked, and moved to let the Lord of the contemporary divine position realize that it was still possible. Her play was in comparison, but Hui Rui saw the first battle of the dragons. Forget the end of the body. Engraved deep like the seal of a person. The feeling of beauty was one outside. The other was Hui Rui's present. The appearance of the mortal made the sky seem like the goose cloud before. Like the wind of 10,000 emotions, the graceful figure swaying up and down, looking at the shadow of Hui Rui rang, the slow and elegant steps in front of her, her thick black hair coiled up high, the hairpin glaze Liu Rui, with her head that perfectly matched the appearance of a mature woman. Faintly, a touch of nobility and splendor was added to it. Threaded gold inlaid sleeves and collar were the same. Liveliness and splendor were not excessive. Her chi was big and steady. Her clothes and sleeves were left with black when Kue Yi Shuang. The Wen family's deity had a seal. The woman's beautiful head was out of 13. First, she did not pass this feeling. How could she say that there was no but? She was not over the years. She was related to the birth of Wang Zhai. Because of this, her mother's Li Liu was even though Hui Rui. She pretended to be a good fighter. Once she passed, she also showed Hui Rui as a substitute god. Because of this, she was related to the celebration. As soon as the spear came out of the bag, the brain fell into its own trap. Thinking of not being able to bear it, he directly attacked Jian Duolong. In a flash, he came and went, and walked, and my Huerue, who was acting as the substitute god of the clan, was acting as the substitute god of the clan. Mother's mother-in-law was really returned. Mother's mother-in-law, was she wrong? When he kills Polly, he poisons Polly to give his mother his Polly. Is this even more true? When the mother's mother-in-law's house is at home, the guests are waiting to receive them. Once the words are out of order, the guests are already waiting for the entrance to pull the main road to the east, and the criminals are tied up one by one in a grand hall. Just as he was about to vomit, he realized that he was fighting a dragon. As he walked through the door, he saw that the entrance to the hall was not far away. To the dark and gloomy appearance of the trough, the center is on one side, walking along one side a dragon. It's true, isn't it? Isn't it true that love dramas come and go? It's said that there are 3 consecutive failures in the small streets. What a coincidence. Once we get the chance, we'll look for him again and wait for him to hire a guest. We'll help him to the best of our ability. What can we do? The guests are waiting to be recruited, he followed to return them. Suddenly, he came from behind, waiting for the front of the district hall to arrive. Then, the fighting dragon was on the spot. Then, suddenly, Da. Some of the members of the Central Perimeter Pavilion have come to meet Tengzai, and when they have finished, the wind will lead the way, and they will straighten their posture. Men's martial arts practice is good, just in time to fight a dragon. Chang Zhengtai, well, young and handsome in his official uniform, standing tall and straight. But when he finished, he was full of doubts about whether he was around the officials working and the guests coming and going. Walking along the corridor, walking on the floor, his chest puffed out, his head held high. Qi Lingling of the heaven bestowing Qi Lingling has done very well for me to see. Come on, he does not recognize the eyes, one person is enough to accept, the hat and the staff uniform are put on the head to match, but it is clear that they do not count very much, and come to talk about changes. The transformation of the slightly more subtle entanglement is carved into the appearance of the fighting dragon queen, the back of the magic demon is a little more stuck to the face, the mirror of the magic demon is used for the magic demon. Other districts have settled down, with the past and the past, he is now like this, when the time comes, the toilet opens, when the dragon fights. Tian Chongfei came to pick up the straight well ladder electricity through the region's concentration of strength to guard the front of the circle, the hall's weak and thin is compared to the strength to guard the back of the calculation, so the toilet woman opens and leaves the fighting dragon queen, after the next pick up slightly. The palm and finger are like this, early on the formation of the earth, the map is detailed, Wine King Di Dong King, when he arrived, the wisdom from the past has been him, before this. Lu Shiwu climbed up the straight path to the well, and went to the side of the ladder to compare to the secluded area of the electric ladder. Compared to the one in the Middle Ages, the one who calculated and fought the dragon was also the electric ladder of the well. Tai 5 only has a total of one ladder electricity to use enough power, the use of the ladder electricity has been stopped by the past, the number of ladder electricity is extremely large, the consideration of the surface of the test is safe to go out. There are a lot of electric wells and ladders, and there are a lot of them. The high-grade wine shops are like Wine King Di Jingdong. There are electric wells and ladders, and there are also electric wells and ladders. The electric wells and ladders are installed with electric wells and ladders. The well ladder electricity is the most simple. The top floor 15 enters the secret hall building from the beginning, when the case begins to open the most fighting dragon queen. Chapter 138. Of course, this didn't mean that Ruehui was only that scary in Wu Hong's heart. In fact, for most people in Tokyo's upper class, the main goddess of Kamiyoshi, Dai Ruehui, was a very scary woman. The Kamiyoshi clan was a famous clan in Tokyo. They had a lot of influence in the parliament, the cabinet, and the courts. Some people even called them the Shadow Kingdom. However, 10 years ago, the Kamiyoshi clan wasn't as powerful as they were today. Although this clan relied on the convenience of the House King to make a name for themselves in the political circle, they were nothing more than a front for the royal family. It wasn't until 16 years ago, when the previous vegetarian King Rui Kanzaki stepped down from her position as the head of the Kanzaki family, that the Kanzaki family began to develop by leaps and bounds. Using the clan's convenience to rake in money in various fields, and then using the clan's wealth and reputation to rope in and support politicians and bureaucrats, they built a network of connections with Tokyo as the core. In just over a decade, the Kanzai family's newly increased wealth and fame was enough to match the sum of the previous several hundred years. All of this was because of a woman named Kaneshiro Ruehui. From this point of view, the head of Kamiyoshi could be said to be one of the most powerful women in the world. Why was she one of the most powerful? Because there was a cheetah called Tenmu Iheim in this world. However, according to Raito's knowledge, in the game Red Album 2, No Survivors, the only person Iheim feared was her. The reason why the Tenmu group and the Kamiyoshi clan were mortal enemies was mostly because of these two women. Ruehui was a monster that could fight equally with Iheim. And her strength could be seen from the stats displayed on Raito's hooligan analysis mirror. Name, Kaneshiro Ruehui. Age, 55. Attributes, Intelligence LV5, Constitution LV1, Courage LV4, Insight LV5, Charm LV4. How should he describe her attributes? They were quite similar to Iheim's. Ruehui and Yongji were monsters on the same level when it came to the most crucial aspects of wisdom and insight. It was precisely because of their factions that Ruehui wasn't as bold and didn't have as much magical charm. If one really had to say where Ruehui was lacking the most compared to Yongji, it was naturally her physical ability. Unlike Iheim, who had undergone countless modifications and was no longer like a normal human, Ruehui's physical fitness could be said to be quite weak, even worse than an ordinary person. This difference in physical ability was also the deciding factor that led to Ruehui's tragic ending. If Raito remembered correctly, The ruler of Kamiyoshi would pass away a year later due to illness. Her body wasn't very good to begin with, and as the conflict with the Tenmu group intensified, she worked even harder and fell ill. In the end, she fell seriously ill and was sent to chat with Amaterasu Omikami. With Rui Hui's death, the atmosphere in the second half of the game became more and more terrifying. Without any worries, Yongji crazily carried out all kinds of sensational plans. She completely took control of the government in her hands. She arranged for the bureaucrats to perform a striptease on the streets, and mercilessly killed those who resisted on the streets. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that most of the dangers that the main characters faced in the second half of the game were actually a chain reaction caused by Rui Hui's death. If Rui Hui didn't die, Aiheim wouldn't have dared to dance so happily, and the direction of the future would have been greatly changed. At this moment, the Konoshiro family head, who was about to die of illness, revealed a gentle smile and said to Tokishi, who had come to receive him, "I hope that President Tokishi won't take offense to my uninvited visit." "No, no, no. How could it be? Sister Rui Hui is willing to come. It must be the honor of our Saitu Hall." Wu Hong quickly shook his head and replied, but he suddenly realized something in his heart. That's right. Sister Rui Hui didn't seem to be among the registered guests today. Shouldn't Kamiyoshi send Kamishiro Yoshiyuki, that loser? For a moment, President Wu Hong was also a little confused. Originally, it was agreed that Yoshiyuki would come. Why did Rui Hui suddenly change her mind and choose to come in person? Didn't she not like to participate in this kind of event? Raito was also puzzled about this point. After all, in his opinion, Rui Hui shouldn't have appeared at all, and she just happened to appear in front of him. What's worse was that the person who came in with Rui Hui was actually an old acquaintance of Cat House. Although all the guests could only enter by themselves when they entered the gate, they couldn't bring bodyguards. But obviously, this rule didn't apply to Rui Hui at all. Cat House's bunny ball stood only about 1 meter away from the owner. After coming in, the old ninja immediately began to observe the surrounding situation vigilantly. Raito quickly lowered his head and tried to block his eyes with his hat. Now Raito's appearance had some changes because of the rogue magic post. The conspicuous yellow hair was also blocked by the hat. It wasn't easy to recognize him just by looking at his face. But the eyes were different. The eyes were the window to the soul. Recognizing people was actually done through the eyes most of the time. With the strength of the old man bunny ball, as long as the two eyes met, then there was a high probability that Raito's identity would be seen through by him. This was simply the worst situation. What kind of sin did I commit? Why did I encounter such a level of emergency at the beginning of the plan? When Rui Hui and Wu Hong chatted at the door, Raito's heart was really a million alpacas dancing crazily in his heart. However, before these two big shots could chat for a while, Wu Hong gestured towards the inside and said with a smile, "Big sister Rui Hui, let's go in and talk." "Well, but I don't want to eat in the banquet hall, and I don't want to be disturbed, so arrange a suite for me to rest for a while." "Can I participate in the speech?" "Of course, then I'll take you." "No, you're the host. You should be very busy. Just let the waiter take me up." Just when Wu Hong was about to say "then I'll take Sister Rui Hui up," Rui Hui shook her head understandingly, and at the same time, looked at the waiter standing next to her, or her future son-in-law. When Raito was stared at by Rui Hui, a stiff smile appeared on his face. It was even uglier than crying. "Okay, then take Sister Rui Hui to the presidential suite on the 49th floor. Thank you for your hard work." Having said that, Wu Hong reached out and patted Raito's shoulder next to him. After giving him a thumbs up, he nodded to Rui Hui, then walked away happily. Judging from Wu Hong's back, it seemed that he didn't have to face Rui Hui. It's just that he was relaxed now, but the problem was that Raito was really in trouble. Chapter 139. After Wu Hong left, Rui Hui looked at Raito again and ordered in a flat tone, "Let's go, lead the way." "Yes." Raito had no choice but to turn around and walk toward the main passage that he came from not long ago. Rui Hui and Bunkamaru followed behind him. Raito never dreamed that he would encounter such a magical scene on his kidnapping trip. Raito Kiri, came out to kidnap my third wife, but I was caught red-handed in the hotel by my third father-in-law and was assigned to serve my first mother-in-law. This relationship is so messed up. It's not just messed up like a pot of porridge, it's practically a pot of stew. What kind of bad luck am I having today? Is it written on the calendar that kidnapping is not an option? As Raito walked toward the main passage, he felt a mountain-like pressure coming from behind him. He couldn't help but clench his teeth to prevent himself from revealing any flaws. This was because Rui Hui was staring at him. Raito would never mistake the feeling of being stared at from behind. Of course, Ryudo wasn't mistaken. Kanzaki Rui was indeed walking slowly while sizing up the ordinary-looking waiter in front of her. After a while, Rui Hui whispered to Bunkamaru, who was walking behind her, "What do you think of this waiter? He's well-trained and has a steady temperament. He's definitely not someone who's used to this." Just like Rui Hui, Bunkamaru was also secretly staring at Raito. After all, he was a waiter who was responsible for leading the way for his mistress. For safety's sake, he had to check out Raito. Judging from the way he walked, Longdo's body was always moving in a straight line. Every step he took felt quite steady, and his footsteps were light and silent. At first glance, it was obvious that he was a martial artist who had been trained for a long time. Indeed, such an excellent young man is actually working as a waiter here. Isn't it a bit too wasteful? After hearing Bunnyball's answer, Rui Hui couldn't help but shake her head in pity. Although Rui Hui did not know martial arts, her perceptive ability was one of the best in the world. She could tell at a glance that this young man was definitely not simple. All the staff in the hotel today seemed to be members of the Saichu Guild, but judging from his situation, he doesn't seem to be valued by the guild. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been sent to do such a job. Is that so? If that's the case, I'll have a chat with him later. If he's a talent, I'll have him work in Kamiyoshi, so that he won't waste his life here. Rui Hui had never hesitated to poach other people's talents. The Kamiyoshi clan had so many talents today, it was all thanks to her innate wisdom and decisive personality. However, this outstanding young man who was about to be poached didn't know that his mother-in-law had taken a fancy to him. Instead, he was worried about another matter. What to do? After a while, the elevator was in front, but I don't have a key card. How can I start the elevator? As the three moved forward, seeing the elevator not far away from the corner waving at them, Raito was so flustered that he almost burst into tears. The elevator in the Tokyo Emperor Hotel required a special elevator keycard to be swiped at the same time. Otherwise, the floor button couldn't be pressed at all. Generally speaking, most of the staff in the hotel had such an elevator keycard. Being a waiter was definitely a must-have. But the problem was that Raito was not a real waiter. He was actually a kidnapper disguised as a waiter. And in the previous plan, Raito didn't need to open the elevator at all, so naturally, he didn't prepare anything like a keycard. Now, with Rui Hui and Bunnyball behind him, and in front of the elevator that couldn't be opened, Raito felt that he seemed to have walked into a dead end. How can I open the elevator door? And even if I open the elevator to the 49th floor, I can't get the keycard to the presidential suite, right? Generally speaking, the suite keycard of this kind of hotel was kept in the hands of a professional. If the waiter needed to add a room, he would send a request through the walkie-talkie, and someone would immediately send the keycard to the door. Although Long Do also had a walkie-talkie hanging on his chest, his walkie-talkie was just a decoration. It couldn't connect to the channel here at all. Therefore, he couldn't open the presidential suite either. What should I do? How? Yes. Pay-to-win shopping mall. I remember seeing something similar to a lockpick there before. For ordinary people, this situation could be said to be the most desperate situation, and there was no room to reverse the situation. However, Dragonfight was different. He was a real gamer who had spent a lot of money. So Raito walked slowly while quickly opening the shopping mall and looking through the items in the shopping mall. Lockpicks. Hooligan lockpicks. Wait, no, this won't work. After opening the rogue lockpick that was priced at 500,000, and said to be able to open most keyholes, Raito's face was full of tears. From the shape and description, this rogue lockpick could only be used to open locks with keys, and couldn't be used on elevators or electronic locks outside the suite. When he realized this, Raito couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over his body, and the deadly elevator was only 10 to 20 meters away from here. Damn, can I only commit suicide? Suicide because I can't open the elevator, this cause of death is really stupid. BZZT, BZZT, BZZT. Just as Raito was about to take out the Uzi and shoot himself, the walkie-talkie hanging on his chest suddenly made a slight sound. Then, a familiar voice carefully floated out from the walkie-talkie. Boss. Boss, can you hear me? Please reply if you hear me. This voice is sensible. Great, I'm saved. The moment he heard the familiar voice, Raito quickly raised the walkie-talkie and said openly, Report, I'm taking the guest to elevator 107, preparing to go to the 49th floor presidential suite. Other than that, there is no other abnormality, contact complete. On the surface, this was just a normal communication report to the front desk. But Raito believed that Sensible on the other side of the walkie-talkie could understand his meaning. If he couldn't, then Raito would really take out his gun and commit suicide. After that, there was no sound from the walkie-talkie. Raito walked towards the elevator with a nervous heart. Just as Raito brought Rui Hui and Bunny Ball to the door of elevator 107, he used his body to block the view of the two people behind him. He pretended to hold the keycard and dripped it into the sensor area next to the elevator. Please, you must open it, you must, beep. Accompanied by a crisp sound, the light next to the elevator turned from red to green, and the elevator door that was about to sentence Raito to death also opened. Phew. Well done, sensible Goro. Suddenly, Raito smiled, stepped aside, and made a pleased gesture to Rui Hui. Chapter 140. Testing Chapter. Running away from the road, he did not hate the straight Gen Duolong. While he was talking, he looked to the side to see if the cat in the house with a meatball rabbit was really like that. Did you return my question? Go to the front room and call for her. Is it possible? Whether or not you are willing to fight the dragon, the inquiry is not completely obvious. The room and the suite are always in and out. The first is Huerue. The last sentence is this: throw away the young man's show you score 10 points, and anger the handsome young man this pair. You can ask me anything you want, right? I'll take you in. Why do you still need to ask? Why do you still need to ask? Why do you need to return so quickly? You can still do it quickly. Next time, when you are fighting the dragon in the center of Gar, you will have to listen to me. Wait a minute. The Tao says that it is suddenly Hui Rui. When the time opens, it leaves the body and turns around to prepare for the battle of dragons. Children's affairs are unavoidable, and the implication of this is that as soon as there is a room on the 15th floor, Yoni is on the 8th floor, and Yoni is on the 8th floor at this time. From time to time, it was inevitable that the cause of fortune and misfortune was also the cause of the battle. However, it was unexpected that this was not the case. Huerue, who had followed him here, said, "Let's run away, but I'm the only one here, tied up in the end. Please, madam, this is the opening of the door of the Tao Gate," bowing slightly to the Dragon of Battle. The back door was opened, and Ji Ming, who was helping out, was present. Lu 94, who was the best in the room, arrived. Huerue brought along Dolong, who was in charge of the room. However, leisurely in front of her eyes, she was looking for herself. She didn't look like she wanted to be right, but she also predicted it. When she went to the suite, she went to the main building. She was wearing the 94th official uniform of the Imperial Court. She had been with her for more than a few years. Although he was close to receiving it, he was still very close to the truth. Although it was indeed Hui Rui, who had broken down many times, said that he had no choice but to do so. Now that he has come from his own family, Hui Rui, the reason is that he is right. What are the ghosts doing at the bottom of the little one to have a look? Hand meeting that eye of the heavens has decided that Hui Rui is where to be. Inside the wine shop, this is the fight between the dragon and the tree. Member acting Shi Lin Yijing does not look alike, to die or not to die or to die of old predestined fate. Good luck, don't be so lucky. Because it is not enough, the target has been marked, The early group has assembled to watch the sky and also to fight the dragon Sheng Tong. It seems that the report has arrived to Hui Rui's route. This time, Dian Qing also came to fight Long Sheng Tong. How could it be difficult to say that it was difficult to do so? Is he? Hui Rui in the center of the emergence of the hair yellow small fighting Long Sheng Tong to do one, the words of the event that the hair growth period before to want to connect in the fruit. Friends get along well with each other. Are they friends or not? In her heart, this situation on the side, and Dian Qing on the side, and friends on the side, why would they not cut her off? It seems that the solved Li Liu and Hui Rui. The tender water, is to return to you. The small hands play in front of the mother is thinking, the children are stupid, Hui Rui on behalf of the gods is still willing to that, and admit that, people's love for Li Liu is really heavenly to solve the highest world, this is to say that. The right is to wait for the division to be big, the words of this mother if no daughter knows, but how long will it take to settle on one? Speaking of which, if this girl does not know her mother, the field is celebrating, and she is close to that, the external meaning of this matter is added to Li Liu to let this matter quietly return to Hui Rui. The external meaning of this matter is not only the request has been answered by Yi Qingran unexpectedly Hui Rui, is the external meaning of this matter is to the feelings of Li Liu to let go do what you want, if you are that, then I am Bai Ming. The point of the heart will be even more natural self, Dian Qing added to the side, the friends I actually finished. The childlike Dian Qing field is very similar to You Come and See, this Tathagata original. Suspicious of the production of Ji Yong to not let the running away Dajing Mingguang can fight the dragon like this, the external intercepting department of the whole group of people, the heavens will be the people's clan god, the opening of Yani Dong to fight the dragon is, the next situation is the best. With the manual ninja and the clan god of Shu Wu can only ask that, the group of people who have moved the main party not to fight the dragon at this time. The intercepting group of people, the heavens will meet a lot of people on the way, the opening of Yani Dong to wait for the group of people to finish. Quan and Jiao is more able to wait for the time to flee and fight the dragon, the hope is to want the main party, the discussion of building this kind of matter is to mention Li Liu. Good, come down to stop them, he will be the first one, the movement of the words prepared for the group of people, the heavens will be the result, this close to the clan of Shu Wu, we arrange the arrangement should be aware of me, En. The interesting thing is not completely finished, this pair of people's master's voice Buddha imitates, the water is as calm as to go up to listen to the sound of the voice to spread the side of the line. How about building the next mention of you? You are ready, what do you need to do? Ask Hui Rui to match these words, the electric strike of Seng Li Liu, long ago. You are ready, what do you need to do this? The side of moving the live celebration that Teng Zai will meet the group of people, the heavens will feel me, the Great Mother. Ask for a place around the border that Dian Qingyi is busy helping his mother to let Li Liu return from the source, because of this cut. The Tao of knowing just now is also true of Li Liu, this matter this go to the scene of the celebration to run straight to the meeting Hui Rui. Sweat squeezed the dark center in also Li Liu, the scene of the situation after a few observations, continuous wisdom instructs. Go to the side of the big trouble that fight the dragon, the words of the Wine King Emperor Jingdong, go to slip quietly the Great Mother found suddenly, as if it is really dangerous. Li Liu, who is in charge of the control of Li Liu in the capital, began to open the wine shop to walk in Hui Rui from the top to the bottom of the. There is nothing in the other areas, the toilet house follows by itself, the weak thin too is also the control of the defense of the wine shop, the words and hands are high into the dark energy of the control of the police department, this is the end of him. Rong Xiao relaxed the exposure of this wisdom, the release of the fighting dragon Lu 94 went to the ladder to sit on the screen to watch. Okay, the concierge suite opened, he prepared to come down to pick it up, the dangerous escape has already met the side of the big elder, the head sister Big Lan Bo more than enough, but the fighting dragon of the wine shop is possible, the progress is smooth in the side of the process of the work of the road is as said, although it is not only dig thoroughly enough to be able to come in dozens of times again, half a close to the digging of the previous eyes, the words are not wrong, the judgment of Li Liu fruit is like. When the work of the drum and gong is tight in the road of the hell of the prison guard duck nest, the screen on the screen is as. the staff of the reaction field and the movement of the members of the work team, and also with wisdom to wave the finger. This is in charge of the duty of the commander of the army, as if it is still Li Liu, in the heart of the guard of the special situation. The banquet of the Wine King Jingdong in the region is lively and hot in the center. The prison guard duck nest of the region is walking back and forth, the guards are still outside the head, and there are many prisoners in the cell inside. The tunnel diggers in the water of the region are carrying out the continuation in the center of the crowd. The appearance of the painting is not shown in the head, the device shows one every time. The device shows the quantity of the device is placed in the head in the heart of the waving of the finger. The breath is relaxed in the end, the screen of Li Liu is held in the head in the heart of the waving finger of the Saigong Bao Long Ru of the distance section is still the Wine King Jingdong of the Wine King Jingdong of the distance. The busy big help is true, the door ladder electricity starts to control the brain of the Wine King Jingdong of the Wine King Jingdong of the black, the hand to assist in the service of the time, this can be his total, but the question of the question has oneself appeared by oneself, how is the wisdom of the path not to fight the dragon? The busy help Lang Wu Jiming scout Bo Sai this person has suffered a lot, the luck starts to fight Li Liu, this is enough to ladder electricity, ask no doubts. The quick time of life and death experience is actually in the inside, this just out does not look at the whole thing, slowly and steadily up the ladder electricity, the button presses the floor 94, the press of the ground is like the light fighting the dragon by itself. However, since that has to be cut down, the door ladder electricity is in the beginning. As Raito spoke, he showed a bitter smile, as if he was a pitiful child who had experienced many hardships despite his young age. The name and the experiences he had told her were all true. The child was not lying at all. After listening to Raito's self-introduction, Rui Hui could not help but nod. In fact, Raito's self-introduction was indeed true. After all, Li Lan was his real name before he transmigrated. When he said his real name, it naturally did not feel like he was lying. And as a person from a neighboring country, he came here because of some strange encounters, and then he encountered a lot of complicated things. How did this sound wrong? Raito used the method of skirting around the edges to explain his true information. This was the tactic that he chose to use to deal with Rui Hui. After all, his internal and external were really incompatible. His body and soul were actually two different people. Even if he had God-level insight, he could not see through this trick of switching his internal and external. At this moment, Rui Hui went straight to the point and said, Lan, actually I called you here because, just as Rui Hui was about to invite Raito to work at the Kamiyoshi clan, suddenly, Rabbit Ball, who was standing at the door, frowned and turned to look outside the presidential suite. A powerful aura, an aura that seemed to be burning, emitting intense hatred and battle intent. Most martial artists who practiced martial arts to the peak of perfection were able to condense their own aura. It could be called killing intent, battle intent, or domineering aura. In short, it was an aura that could be felt from far away. Although the owner of the aura was at least 10 meters away in the hallway, Rabbit Ball clearly felt the aura through the thick door. Rabbit Ball was not the only one who felt the powerful aura. Even Raito, who was sitting in the living room, felt it. What a powerful aura, who is it? At this moment, an excessively sharp aura was placed on Long Do's neck like a sharp blade, causing him to unconsciously react before the battle. Almost instinctively, Raito moved to the side and blocked in front of Rui Hui. His lower body was slightly squatted, and his hands were raised as if he was ready to attack at any time. Originally, Raito did not have any battle stance to speak of. However, after purchasing the ancient Bajikan, his battle stance seemed to have reached a certain level. Calm down, young man. After sensing Raito's vigilance, Rabbit Ball said without turning his head, the person outside is my old friend. He is only inviting me to go out for a gathering. Although this method is a bit too rude. Although Rui Hui could not feel the aura, she roughly knew what happened. Thus, she said calmly, old friend, an old opponent, right? Although his strength is not below mine, I don't regard him as an opponent because we are not on the same path. Although Rabbit Ball also killed people, in essence, the meaning of the existence of a guardian ninja like him was only to protect the Kamiyoshi clan from foreign enemies. However, the demon child standing in the corridor outside the door was a freak born to kill. He was a natural killer. Chapter 142. His strength was on par with Niamaru, and he even saw him as an opponent. Was it the demon child Saitu? After hearing Niamaru's description, Raito had a rough idea of who the murderous guy was. The demon child Saitu was the headquarter teacher of the Saitu Guild Hall. He was the cousin of the current president, Saitu Tokahiro, and also Daunia's uncle. In the original game, most of the characters in the Saitu Guild Hall only appeared in the Daunia arc, and this Saitu could be considered the villain of the Daunia arc. How should this man be described? He was born with a deformity and grew up under the ridicule of others, so his personality was extremely twisted. Although the physical condition of the Saitu Guild Hall was different from ordinary people, this member of the Saitu family had a godlike talent in martial arts. He could basically learn most of the martial arts just by looking at it once. Ever since he was young, he had been ridiculed for entering the Dao. After discovering his martial arts talent, he had been immersed in the pleasure of practicing martial arts. He traveled around the world at a young age, looking for martial artists from various sects to fight. When he was in his 20s, he had fought more than 1,000 times. He could be said to be a war maniac born for martial arts. It was just that this pursuit of martial arts very quickly evolved into the pursuit of slaughter. After all, the essence of martial arts was to kill. The deeper the pursuit, the easier it was to fall into a quagmire. Therefore, the current Saitu Guild Hall was already in a state of madness. He secretly captured many disciples of the Saitu Guild Hall to test his skills and brutally killed them. The demon child lived up to his name. That's right. It was mentioned that Saitu had once lost to a cat house by putting rabbit balls on it. Just when the legendary demon child was provoking him outside, Raito remembered a small detail mentioned in the Daunia arc. The reason why Saitu Guild Hall always wore an iron mask that covered half of his face was because he had a huge scar on his face, and this scar was left behind by Niamaru. Looking at it from this perspective, it was not hard to understand why the Dao initiation sect would want to find him to avenge their humiliation. However, it was his business to seek revenge after entering the Dao. Rabbit Ball had no intention of fighting with that fellow again. Moreover, the battle between the two of them back then was just a misunderstanding caused by a coincidence. It was just that after entering the Dao for so many years, they still refused to let it go. But even so, Bunny Ball shook his head and said, "What a headache. It seems like that guy doesn't intend to leave if I don't go out. I guess I can only send him away. It's fine. Don't worry about it. President Wu Hong should already know about this. Someone will come to stop him soon." Rui Hui was rather calm about this sudden incident. Her eyes didn't even have the slightest change. In her opinion, it was not a big deal. As long as Saitu was a normal person, he would not attack the distinguished guests of the Kamiyoshi clan at such a large-scale celebration. Of course, the premise of this reasonable deduction was that Saitu was a normal person. In fact, he was completely different from a normal person. "You don't want to come out? Very good." Just as Bunny Ball was not going out, the short middle-aged man with an iron mask covering half of his face standing outside had a dark expression. He pressed his hand on the wall beside him. Hiss. Huff. As Saitu took a deep breath, his body actually expanded at a scale visible to the naked eye. The black suit that was originally in line with his body suddenly bulged out. Especially the muscles on his arms, they directly burst out of his sleeves. There was a tearing sound. Bunny Ball, who was standing at the door of the suite, sighed and said helplessly, "Not good. That madman is really going to attack. Rui Hui-sama, please sit tight." "Ah, sit tight. What do you mean?" Before Rui Hui could react, a wave of impact suddenly appeared in the room. It was an impact, and it came from outside the room. It directly penetrated through the wall that was more than 10 meters away. After using all the strength in his body, Saitu's hand that was much wider than a normal person, and even his palm print was smoothed out, suddenly pressed against the wall. With this press, an exaggerated penetrating force immediately passed through the wall and blasted into the presidential suite where Rui Hui and the others were in. Bang! Pa! Boom! In an instant, a crisp explosion sounded almost at the same time. The vase on the table, the goldfish bowl beside the bed, the light bulb above the head, and other fragile things were all shattered on the spot. How should this scene be described? It was like someone used an excavator to fiercely dig outside the room, causing a strong vibration. Of course, this was not caused by some kind of heavy machinery, but by the penetrating force caused by a pair of flesh palms. What the hell is this? The moment the vibration started, Raito immediately reacted. He quickly took off his jacket and covered Rui Hui's head to prevent her from being scratched by the light bulb. Although his relationship with Rui Hui was a bit strange, she was still Colored Glaze's mother, and his future mother-in-law. In addition, Rui Hui looked very similar to Colored Glaze. Raito occasionally saw the shadow of Colored Glaze on her. Therefore, taking the initiative to protect Rui Hui was his instinctive reaction. Not bad, his reaction was fast, and he had a good sense of protection. Originally, Bunkamaru wanted to personally protect Rui Hui, but who knew that Raito would snatch his job from the side, so he looked at the youth's back with a gratified gaze. If Bunkamaru did not comment on Rui Hui's invitation to this youth before, now he was a bit fond of this youth named Li Lan. He really had a bright future. However, Raito, who was unexpectedly recognized by Bunkamaru, could not help but immediately look at the direction of the wall where the force came from. Could it be that Saichu entering the Dao fella had used his palm to blast out that attack? Isn't that a bit too exaggerated? Although Raito knew that the demon child's martial arts attainment was at the top level in this world, he did not expect it to be this strong. Even with his LV4 physique, it was impossible for him to shatter the glass in the room with a single palm strike from afar. This was not something that could be done with brute force alone. It must contain the essence of a profound martial arts skill. By the way, is my mother-in-law okay? If she's hurt, it will be troublesome. Her body is already very weak. Long Do was stunned for a second by the earth-shattering attack of entering Dao. He hurriedly lowered his head to look at Rui Hui, who was protected by his clothes. He lowered his head and looked down. Coincidentally, Rui Hui also raised her head and looked in his direction. Their eyes coincidentally met. Chapter 143. Testing Chapters, Changing in the Morning. If you like this book, please come to Chidien to support the original version. Thank you very much. The murderous and violent Daoist came and stood in front of her. Hui Ruichao hastily responded by fighting the dragon. Later, he was aware of this. After taking a few steps back, he felt that it was not appropriate for him to take a few steps back. It was obvious that Huerue's daughter was weak and gentle. Even if we don't do it close together, we still have to think about it. Although our bodyguards are not far away, the people who are startled should also have an imposing aura and a suppressive wind. When we are producing, our hands are fighting against each other. Looking at the strong and strong divided into 10, Ma Wanjuan and Qianru felt the fight. The people at the peak of the peak called Kan Du, Fang Jiejing, Huanji Wutsongluan, no hands, senior top. The accuracy of the quantitative comparison is very high. This is why we have to look at the next time. The first is still fighting the dragon. Acting in the arena is like a straight line. Going to the plank flower sky to the fight can still go even further, gambling with each other on the wall, measuring with the carpet, walking on the wall, flying on the eaves, moving around and rolling over the shadow. The number of wide meters walking in the corridor is only limited. Marohan divided half of himself. He did not injure the user, he dispelled the momentum to attack the Dao of hegemony, the Dao of general's angle of view strangeness. He followed the ability to resist him, he attacked less and defended more, although the pill was a rabbit. He seemed to be flying in the air, punching at the head. He was so angry that even the Buddha seemed to imitate. The sound of the wind was like thunder, carrying along with it when he attacked. Every punch, however, his small and short limbs moved in all directions. The way of the extreme was so domineering that it was comparable to the way of attack. After a moment of stupefaction, he had to see who it was. When the battle was about to break out, he would fight the dragon in front of him, and the two Taoists would enter the ball rabbit dang. The young are not strong, but the old are one person, the middle are one person, the young are one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one. If we do not have the ability to slightly return the power of the physical body, we will be able to compare with the fighting of the dragon. Are the spikes of monsters of different levels counted even though there are always people in their heads? What about her appearance and appearance? Why does she belong to two different people? Strength, charm 3, insight, whole 4, knowledge, courage 4, spirit, body 1, intelligence, sexual attribute years 94, age Daojin Tungzai, name Tiro Fyoutichball rabbit Mosahiko, name. Although Shio Yoren's natural disposition belongs to the big boss and big position, it seems that her natural disposition belongs to the single fruit. The move is excessively fast and afraid of the chaotic dazzling eyes. The scripture has already reached two people. The ball has become the battle ball rabbit, the house cat, and the scripture has already entered the Tengzai. The past should be the battle dragon and the others have not returned. The wall is still there when it's gone. What's with the 3 arrows? He ran up the wall and stepped on Neng Ranju's house. Heaven is old. Marubi rushed to the back of the group of bodyguards and circled around. He counted the short man who was running up the wall and stepping on the lightning-like body. Suddenly he jumped to the side and went down. If he wanted to say something, he wanted to say that he had not finished yet. The Daoist priest said that as he retreated, a ball of rabbit was applied to the house cat, so that the bodyguard could save him. Well, it's too much not to manually connect in the straight line. This is in the body of you with. Besieging Fan's attack of the fist pulled out the back. The collar clothes grabbed the palm of the old Kang, only had the bad luck of the bodyguard to fall. At the same time, he waved his fist in the air. When the death field was the guiding force, it would be extremely great. The bodyguard who smashed the bowels and 6 viscera and 5 would have enough power to hit him, but the fist and the whip record was waved, the intent followed only by the Daoist priest. He waved his arm to the sturdy trunk of the tree as if there was still only one. After he finished speaking, the long line of bodyguards had not returned. You can do whatever you want. The distinguished guests of the region are all here. I apologize. Dao said that the first thing to do is to quickly connect people. Can you retreat? Can you not protect the safety of your bodyguards? This is the responsibility of this department. Ball Rabbit Mosahiko looked like a fierce tiger. Ball Rabbit Mosahiko looked like a cat. His gaze was focused like a tiger. Bodyguard Wu Fang passed through the light in front of him. Let go. Over and over again, he said that he was only me. The Daoist priest's voice is a child demon position. There was also a group of people gathering around the Imperial Palace, who were paying close attention to the work of the Imperial Palace's staff and bodyguards, who were close to the Imperial Palace's bodyguards. Naturally, the commotion was big. They had just entered the Tungzai, so there was not the slightest question. The middle corridor of Marutu's room was wide and spacious. When he was standing in front of the door, he did not give way to him. In front of him, he was blocking the bodyguard's Western attire, his body was black, his name was Several Good, the way outside was entering Tungzai. Entering Tungzai, the man's eyes widened in anger, and the rabbit's eyes were far from standing still. Looking around, he went to the right to face the dragon, and in an instant he went out of the door. As soon as the sound of footsteps came and went, the sutra was already at the end of the corridor, and the door was open. At the back of the head, the buttocks family members are following. The ground is very old, but the body is very strong, but near this has to go Hui Rui and do not volunteer to fight the dragon on the wisdom and reason, although tie the knot when the time comes, wait for her to fight the dragon to let fall. This version of SNLD's old wives and old wives are all women. Adding on and adding on, Their self-respect looks very much like Huerue. Rubbing and rubbing are indispensable. The production is also a double. The one of the enemy is also a clan family representative god, the one who wants to set up fighting the dragon in the body. Is this counted as the enemy's attack? The one who made the move, Huirui, is like suddenly, what do you want me to do? Is this how it is done? Strange old times, there is a situation on the surface, the one under the somersault is also fighting the dragon. When going out to face Huirui, the gatekeeper opens the Marutu when point a light comparison to light death, he wants to see whether it is worth it or not. Is it worth it? 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 Is it because of the bad shell brain? Is it because the main clan family representative god dares to enter Tungzai? Is it because of this? Is it because of the tight situation? Is it because of the square? Is it because of the support type? Is it because of the straight clan family representative god? Is it because of the fierce attack? Is it because of the clan family representative god? Is it because of the strange wind? Is it because of the strange wind? Is it because of the beginning of the clan family? Is it because of Huirui's previous words? Is it because of the beard madness? Is it because of the clan family representative god who wants me to go out? Is it because of Lan and Marutu? Is it because of the provocation? Is it because of the glasses in a room? Is it because of the shock attack? Is it because of the wall? Is it because of the release of friends? Is it because of the release of the chi? Is it because of the previous words? Is it because of the displeasure? Is it because of the flash? Is it because of the door? Is it because of Huirui? The expression on his face was calm and indifferent. After recovering, his countenance became serious and upright. He stepped back and retreated to the ground silently. He hastily fought the dragon and Huirui. When they were close enough, they seemed to be able to sense it. Is it okay to protect Lan? Is it because of the loss? Yes. Well, it's because of you. Come and go slowly also Marutu. Is it because of the appearance of the east? Is it because of the two dragons? Is it because of Huirui? Is it because of the person who speaks? Is it because of the person who looks like the person in the picture? Is it because of Lan? How much do you think I am? Is it because of the appearance of the face? Is it because of the sudden? Is it because of the back of the eyes? Is it because of the head dragon? Is it because of Huirui? The face has the person's age. Is it because of the wrinkles? Is it because of the tight and greasy skin? Is it because of her age? Is it because of Huirui? Is it because of the appearance? Is it because of the words? Is it because of the makeup? Is it because of the long glass fruit? Her maturity was even more obvious. When she saw Li Liu and Huirui, who had a few faces, she went to see if the distance between them was much better. The eldest daughter and mother knew this very early. Although they knew it very early, they didn't know. Li Liu looks like Li Liu okay good face. Is it because of the greasy skin? Is it because of the long hair and eyelashes? Is it because it can be seen clearly from the back? Is it because of the division? Is it because of Huirui and Dolong? It was obvious that he had practiced a lot of martial arts. If he really grabbed Raito's neck, his neck would snap like a straw in the next second. Sir, be careful. At the same time, another slender figure appeared behind Rui Hui like a ghost. She pulled Rui Hui back and quickly pulled her away from the battle area. Looking carefully, it was a woman who took Rui Hui away. She was a woman in her 40s with a face scarf covering her mouth and nose. She was wearing tight clothes that were convenient for movement. Just like Bunkamaru, she was also a guardian ninja who was responsible for protecting Rui Hui, but she usually didn't appear in public and only acted when there was a real crisis. Are you Yuki? Take that boy with you. Huh. While being rescued, Rui Hui instinctively said to the ninja named Are you Yuki, wanting her to save Raito as well. After all, in Rui Hui's view, Raito, a 10-year-old boy, couldn't resist the surprise attack of a access Dao. If no one rescued him, he might die on the spot. However, before she could finish her sentence, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded happened. Facing the sudden attack of the demon child Saitu, Ryudo didn't even think about it. He instinctively rushed forward and reached out his right hand to grab Saitu's big hand. This kid is asking for death. Seeing that Raito dared to grab him, the Access Dao's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. The Access Dao had spent his life learning martial arts and had practiced countless martial arts. Among them, his best skill was the Vajra finger of Tantra. His grip was so strong that he could crush solid steel with his bare hands. When he grabbed someone, it was like grabbing plasticine, and he could easily crush their flesh and bones. Not good. Razor-kun dared to compete with the Access Dao. He will definitely. At this time, Bunkamaru also rushed over, but the two's hands were already tightly clasped together. Their fingers were intertwined, but it was not a tender gesture between lovers. It was a competition of strength to break each other's fingers. Go to hell. After grabbing Raito's hand, the Access Dao tightened his grip, trying to turn this arrogant young man into a one-handed hero. However, at the same time he released his force, a huge force came from his other hand. It actually withstood the Access Dao's grip. Woo woo woo. In an instant, Raito squatted down and gathered all his strength in his right hand, and without hesitation, he clasped his hand together with the Access Dao. His eyes were wide open, his teeth were clenched, and his body was pressed forward. His strong and beautiful muscles contracted rapidly, as if he was a gladiator wrestling with his opponent. What a strong grip! But if it's just a competition of strength, I won't lose. After feeling the huge force from the big hand that did not match the size of his body, Raito exerted all his strength while staring at the Access Dao's eyes with murderous intent. Not only did he stare, Raito could not help but mock him to his face. Stinky shorty. You want to kill me just because I complained about you, right? Raito did not even dream that he would fight with the Access Dao here, and the reason was because he complained about Ruehue. You want to kill me just because I complained about you? What a temper this devil child has. But my life is Raito Kiri, do you think you can take it just because you want it? If you want it, you'll have to pay more, at least 10 million each. Chapter 145. Of course, it was impossible for Saito to spend 10 million to buy a life. He didn't have the habit of spending money to buy a life. He had always been a freeloader. Furthermore, after hearing Long Do's mocking words, Access to Dao's eyes, which were already filled with killing intent, glared so hard that they were about to bleed. Saito never thought that such a small waiter would dare to insult him, and what he insulted was the thing that angered him the most. From a very young age, Saito grew up under the ridicule of dwarf, little Ming, and hobbit. He was naturally the most sensitive to such insults. As Saito's status became higher and higher, it had been a long time since someone dared to say such insulting words in front of him. However, Raito dared, and he did it in front of at least a dozen people. This young man actually. Wait. His eyes. Could it be? When he realized that Raito could withstand the attack of Saito, Bunkamaru, who was about to go to the rescue, was stunned. But at that moment, he just happened to see Long Do's eyes that were emitting a cold aura. The eyes were the window to the soul, so Raito had been avoiding Bunkamaru's eyes. Otherwise, there was a high probability that he would discover his true identity. In fact, it was indeed so. When Bunkamaru saw Raito's eyes, he felt as if he had returned to the Kamishiro villa more than a month ago. That's right, I like her, and I will definitely marry her in the future, so? In that bedroom, the young man fearlessly expressed his intentions to Bunkamaru. Even when facing the powerful Kamiyoshi clan, the young man was still confident and his eyes were like torches. It was the same now. Even if the person standing in front of him was the legendary demon child, he still chose to face the attack head-on and didn't retreat half a step. Could it be? This young man's identity is, in a trance, the young man named Li Lan overlapped with the person in Bunkamaru's heart, which made him feel greatly shocked. But this was impossible. How could Raito Kiri have such powerful strength? It had only been a month since the last time Bunkamaru met Raito. At that time, Raito was a complete amateur in martial arts. How could he be able to withstand Saito's attack in such a short time? Just when Bunkamaru was shocked that Leland and Raito might be the same person, Saito slowly opened his mouth. While he exerted force in his palm, he sneered, "Very well. I want your life, even Jesus can't save it." "Is that so? What do we bet? If you can't do it, how about you bark? F***ku. After hearing Raito reply, Daito Kiri-ss, Saito's of course, but in his heart, he was secretly a little. After all, the knuckles of his 5 fingers that had stepped into the Tao had already turned white, and veins were bulging out like earthworms. This was a sign that he was using his full strength. In other words, this young man, who looked like he was at most 10 years old, was able to withstand Saito's full strength. This was unbelievable. What was even more ridiculous was that when Saito Kiri's hand grasped Kiri's hand, it felt so hard that it was incomprehensible. If it was purely strength, Saito Kiri could be explained as the young man's natural strength. After all, although this situation was rare, it was not unheard of. Saito's family had Downia, who was a superhuman. What Saito Kiri could not understand was the hardness of the young man's hand, which seemed to be made of steel. One had to know that the hands that had stepped into the Tao had undergone decades of body training and soaked in various special potions to temper their iron hands. It was not surprising that they had such hardness. But what did this young man have? How could his hand be so hard? Why? If Raito heard this question, he would definitely smirk and reply in a pretentious tone, "Because I have a cheat." The reason why Raito could withstand Saito Kiri's grip was not only because of his strong physique, but also because of the 2 brothers, Steel Bone, and Steel Bone. Steel Bone Mastery, and Copper Skin Mastery. These 2 passive skills had been bought for the second time not long ago, which meant that they were now at 40% proficiency. 40% proficiency of the 2 passive skills, LV4 Physique, and also the title of Combat Apprentice, to increase his combat power, he could barely withstand Saito Kiri's ferocious attacks. From this angle, it wasn't hard to see how terrifying Saito was. His strength had almost reached an inhuman level. If it was not for the fact that they were competing purely on strength, they would have fought each other. Right now, Long Do would definitely be defeated by him in a short period of time. After all, their combat awareness and skills were not on the same level. Long Do might have even picked his nose more times than Long Do. Therefore, Long Do could only barely hold on at this moment and was completely unable to counterattack. However, not being able to fight back did not mean that he could not speak. Therefore, Raito began to bombard him with words. "Harder, did you not eat? Or are you going to scratch my itch here? I don't have money to pay, do you mind? You just said that you want to kill me. Hurry up. Don't just stare at me. I've been afraid of dead fish eyes since I was young. Looks like that's all you've got. I gave you a chance but you didn't use it. Don't call me demon child, call me giant baby." With every sentence that Raito said, Saito Kiri's face turned redder. In the end, his face was as red as an apple. It looked quite funny. When he heard the word giant baby, Saito Kiri could not hold it in anymore. F***CKU%@*. Accompanied by an almost indiscernible curse, the short man finally could not hold it in any longer and moved his right hand. He attacked Raito's outstretched wrist with lightning speed. From the beginning to the end, Saito had only used his left hand to wrestle with Raito because he couldn't accept the fact that he couldn't crush Raito with one hand. But perhaps it was because Raito's scolding that this martial arts expert finally gave up his dignity and chose to use his other hand to launch a fierce attack. If this right hand hit, Raito's extended wrist would definitely break on the spot, and then his entire hand would be crushed into meat paste. Unfortunately, at the same time, 4 thin flying needles flew out from behind like lightning and pierced into his shoulders and leg. It was Cat House Bunny Ball. Just as he was about to make a killing move, Bunny Ball behind him also decisively made his move. Although Raito was the one who had stepped into the Tao, Bunny Ball had been keeping an eye on him. As soon as he noticed that Saito Kiri was about to disregard martial arts, Bunny Ball took the initiative to disregard martial arts and pierced a few needles into his back. With these 4 needles, Saito Kirie's arms and legs immediately became completely numb in a short period of time. His body also froze there and became a large target. Chapter 146. After realizing that he had been ambushed by Bunkamaru, he immediately turned around and shouted angrily, "Bunkamaru! Aye!" Boom! However, before he could finish cursing, Long Do, who was right in front of him, lifted his foot slightly and stomped on the carpet in front of him. A stomp that shook the ground. Using this special tremor kick as a starting point to accumulate and release power, this was the biggest characteristic of the ancient Bajikan. At the same time, Raito's body was like a drawn bow that was filled with power. His body leaned forward, and the power was released from his heel, to his waist, to his fist, and violently smashed towards Seitu's face. Moving like a drawn bow, releasing like a thunderclap, this was one of the ancient Bajikan's signature moves, collapsing fist. When this powerful and domineering punch landed on the half of Seitu's face that was not covered by the iron mask. Even Rui Hui saw the guy's face distort like a cartoon in an instant, and then his whole body flew out in an exaggerated manner. Originally, with Raito's ridiculous physical fitness, the power of this punch was already quite shocking, not to mention that he even used a martial art. What was a martial art? Only a technique that could break through the limits of the body could be called a martial art. This set of movements, from accumulating power with the stomp kick, to pulling himself up from the ground, and finally twisting his waist to unleash his full strength, was much more destructive than a simple punch by God knows how many times. Therefore, when the fist landed on the side of Seitu's face, Raito could clearly feel the bones in his body shattering. This was the first time he had used the ancient 8 extremities fist to attack a living person, but it felt pretty good. The tremendous force traveled inwards through the cheeks, shattering the mandible and the last few molars. The force continued to travel to the maxilla, cheekbone, and lower turbinate, almost shattering all the bones in this area. At the same time, the strong force violently shook his brain, which had entered the Tao, causing his brain to hit the bone walls left and right like jelly in his skull, resulting in a severe concussion. Such a powerful punch directly to the face, the result was so terrifying. If Seitu's physical fitness was not far superior to ordinary people, and he subconsciously dissipated a part of the force before the last punch, this collapsing fist would have killed him on the spot. Even so, entering the Tao could be considered the most tragic defeat he had suffered in the past few decades. % at star. Before he fell to the ground and lost consciousness, Saitu did not forget to open his severely deformed mouth, and used a muffled voice to curse. Although he didn't know if he was scolding Rabbit Ball for being immoral, or scolding Long Do for taking advantage of the situation, or perhaps both were within the scope of his scolding. Thump. But in any case, as Saitu fainted on the ground, this accidental death battle finally came to an end. But after seeing the demon child fall to the ground, almost everyone in the corridor was stunned. Even Bunkamaru looked at Raito in disbelief. As the saying goes, the layman watches the show, while the expert watches the skill. The rest of the bodyguards and Ruehue at most felt that Raito's punch was very fast and smooth. Only Bunkamaru knew how complicated the martial arts technique was. It was actually Fa Jin. Which martial arts country did this technique come from? And it was quite ancient, quite lethal true martial arts. It was not the kind of fake martial arts that could be casually taught. According to Bunkamaru's knowledge, this kind of Fa Jin technique was very difficult to practice. Ordinary people could practice it for 10 or 20 years, and it would be difficult to say if they had mastered it or not. But this young man was at most in his teens, and he performed a complete set of Fa Jin burst fist. This was as ridiculous as magic in Bunkamaru's eyes. From this point of view, Seitu's defeat was justified because he had underestimated Ryu Dojo. But after he wakes up, he will hate me and this young man even more. Why don't we just give him a fatal blow? At this time, Bunkamaru looked at Saitu, who had lost consciousness on the ground, and slowly took out a long needle from his sleeve. It seemed like he was going to stab Seitu's head. Previously, Bunkamaru disfigured the left side of Seitu's face in their last fight, causing Saitu to wear an iron mask that covered half of his face and hated him for more than 10 years. Now, Ryudo's punch had smashed the right side of his face to the point that even plastic surgery might not be able to restore it to its original state. It would be strange if Ryudo did not hate him to death. Rather than leaving behind such a latent threat, why not just give it to him now? Just as Bunkamaru was about to make a move, a few messy footsteps rushed over. Hey! Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Give me some face. Although there was still half a corridor between them, Saitu Tokuhiro's bear-like roar could be heard from the other side. At this time, Saitu Tokuhiro's voice sounded hurried and anxious. It was obvious that he knew something big had just happened. Ch. Tokuhiro is coming. Looks like I can only let him live. Bunkamaru immediately put away the long needle and turned to look at the young man who was hurrying over to Ruehue. But who is this young man? Is he Leland? Or is he really Raito Kiri? If Bunkamaru thought that he was Raito in disguise when he saw the pair of eyes, after seeing the punch, he felt that he was mistaken. After all, that kind of proficient burst punch was not something a young master like Raito Kiri could learn. From Leland's self-introduction, he was originally from a neighboring country and happened to come from the same place as this mysterious burst force technique. This unexpectedly deepened his credibility. If Leland was really Leland and not Raito, then he learned martial arts from a neighboring country and came to Yoto due to some accident, then this explanation made sense. Could there really be people in this world who looked so similar, and even their eyes were almost the same? Just as Bunkamaru was feeling very confused, Raito quickly came to Ruehue and said to her, "Sorry, I have to leave immediately." It had to be said that the development of the situation had far exceeded Longdo's expectations. He could only leave first. After all, if Tokuhiro came to catch him, Raito would be questioned, and his identity as an outsider would be immediately exposed. Therefore, he could only choose to leave first, but before that, he had to say goodbye to Ruehue. Ruehue also nodded and said, "After such a thing happened, you can't stay here anymore, right? Take this, call me when you need help, any help is fine." Before Raito left, Ruehue took out a special business card with double-leaf sunflower pattern printed on it and handed it over with a gentle smile on her face. "Understood, goodbye." After receiving the business card, Raito looked at President Tokuhiro, who was still 50 meters away, and quickly rushed to the other side of the corridor. After seeing the waiter quickly running in the opposite direction, Tokuhiro also ran and shouted, "Waiter over there. Wait. Don't." But before Tokuhiro ran to chase after Raito, Ruehue took a few steps to the center of the corridor and blocked their way. Seeing Ruehue blocking in front of him, Tokuhiro could only stop and ask in confusion, "Sister Ruehue? I'm chasing someone here. That waiter ran so fast, he must have something to ask." "President Tokuhiro, such a big thing happened here, you should think about how to explain it to me, not chase after some useless person." Although Ruehue's voice was calm, but it had a power that made people not dare to overstep. When he heard her words, Wu Hong's burly body immediately slumped down. He looked at Ruehue, who was obviously unhappy, and then looked at Saito, who was lying on the ground not far away, and said in a trembling voice, "How about we find a place to sit down and talk? We can talk about anything, we can talk about anything." To put it bluntly, this incident was caused by Saito from the beginning to the end. Although he didn't hurt Ruehue, but for Kamiyoshi, it was very rude to use violence. If it was not handled well, it may even lead to a huge crisis in the reputation of Saito Club. Therefore, after being criticized by Ruehue, Wu Hong immediately forgot about the waiter who ran away not long ago. He began to nod his head and apologized to Ruehue. At the same time, he cursed the person who had entered the Dao 1,000,000 times in his heart. Just when Tokuhiro and the group behind him were all blocked by Ruehue, Raito had already reached the toilet in the corner of the 49th floor corridor. Although the toilet had the words "women's toilet" written outside, fortunately, there was no one inside, otherwise, Raito would be called a pervert who trespassed in the women's toilet. If I'm not wrong, the stairs to the 50th floor are firmly guarded, and I can only go up from here. Not long ago, during the riot, Raito vaguely saw several bodyguards standing on the stairs, and it was basically impossible to sneak in. So he quickly opened the small ventilation window above the women's toilet, and stepped on the sink and climbed up with difficulty. Although the window was small, it could barely allow people to squeeze through. However, after poking half of his head out, Raito found that there was a drone patrolling outside. He immediately said to Sensible through the walkie-talkie, "Name, I'm now at the window of the women's toilet on the 49th floor. There is a drone patrolling outside. Can you hack in and temporarily change the direction of the drone?" After a while, Sensible, who was looking at the screen in the command center, replied, "If it's only about 10 seconds, it shouldn't be discovered." "Is there enough time?" "Enough, start immediately." With Raito's order, Sensible immediately controlled the drone over there to slightly change the direction, and the surveillance camera was tilted to the side. As for Long Do, he leaped out of the small window. Without the slightest hesitation, he leaped nearly 200 meters into the sky. At the same time, a set of long hook with a rope immediately appeared in his hand, and he threw the iron hook to the edge of the 50th floor. Chapter 147. At this time, Raito's action was hard to describe. Even in Mission Impossible, such an outrageous scene would not appear. Just like that, he leaped out of the vertical space 50 floors away. Below him were pedestrians that were as tiny as ants and cars that were the size of boxes. If the iron hook that was thrown out at this time didn't catch the railing, then Raito could experience the feeling of leap of faith without the haystack in the next second. Clang. But fortunately, Raito's technique and luck were good, so the iron hook successfully caught the railing, and Raito's body, which weighed 100 pounds, was hung in the air by a rope. Phew. Very good. As long as he hooked onto the railing, there would be no problem. Long Do hurriedly climbed up as fast as he could. He was as fast as a monkey climbing a vine. After only 7 or 8 seconds, he appeared in the corner of the garden on the top floor of the 50th floor, and quickly hid his body in the bushes. Until then, the drone that was hacked by Sensible before returned to its original monitoring direction. However, because the time it took to turn around was too short, no staff noticed this scene. When he came to the top floor of the 50th floor, the first thing that caught his eye was a beautiful garden on the top floor. There were swimming pools, gyms, and many other private facilities in the garden, and at the end was a standalone villa suite. The villa on the top floor was obviously where Downia was. After Raito slowly went up from the garden, he bypassed several bodyguards guarding the garden and the stairs, then he came to the window of the standalone villa suite. After a little test, Raito found that the window was not locked. Perhaps Downia opened the window not long ago and forgot to lock it from the inside. Squeak. So Raito gently opened the window and quietly jumped in without making any sound. Because of the passive skill silent movement, Raito moved as light as a cat, and there was no sound of footsteps at all. After entering through the window, what came into view was a spacious, bright, and comfortably decorated living room. There was a faint fragrance in the living room, and there were many snacks and toys on the table. The sofa was also a little crooked. It was obvious that someone had stayed here not long ago. According to the information that Yunyang had gathered, because the security of the Saitu Guild Hall was relatively weak recently, for the sake of Downia's safety, she had actually moved here for several days. But now, Downia was obviously not in the living room, and the light in the bedroom deep in the living room was still on. In the bedroom? If she happened to be resting, then it would be a blessing from the heavens. After Raito took out the bottle of mixed drug hidden in his pants, he quietly sneaked toward the bedroom. The simplest way Raito could think of to kidnap Downia was to drug her. After a while, when he saw her, he would quietly approach her and spray the mixed drug on Downia's face. Even if she had a superhuman body, she would quickly be knocked out. Just like this, Raito held the drug in his hand, and like a scumbag who was about to enter the house, he quietly walked toward the bedroom deep in the mansion. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. The more he walked, the more nervous Raito felt. In the previous battle with Saitu, his LV3 courage was able to keep him calm. But seeing that he was about to achieve his goal of kidnapping Downia, he felt an inexplicable sense of pressure. After all, no matter what, Downia was Raito's concubine, and coincidentally, Raito was a blonde. A blonde sneaking into someone's bedroom and preparing to use the drug to knock out the little lowly. This scene felt strange no matter how one looked at it. But even so, Raito had no way out. He crouched slightly, stuck close to the wall, and carefully came to the bedroom. He gently twisted open the door that was not locked from the inside. After the bedroom door was opened, a rather spacious room appeared. There was a huge and soft bed, a desk, a wardrobe, a TV, and other common facilities. But even if Raito sneaked in, he still did not see Downia in the bedroom. That's strange. Where is she? So Raito curiously looked around, trying to see where the lady was. But at this moment, he looked toward the bed and saw a new dress neatly stacked there. The dress that was as gorgeous as a princess's dress was not inferior to Yunyan's rococo dress. Beside it was a small bra, a pair of white tights, and underwear. It was obvious that these were the clothes that Downia would wear during the final stage of the celebration. With Downia's doll-like exquisite beauty, it was not hard to imagine how many lolicons would scream shamelessly when she wore this cute dress. But now, the problem was, where would Downia be wearing the clothes that were on the bed? Dong. Just as Raito was looking at the clothes on the bed in a daze, there was some movement behind a mirror not far away. Hey! Wait a minute. Could it be that it's not a mirror? Raito turned his head stiffly and looked over, only to see an exquisite naked body faintly appear from behind the mirror. Obviously, that thing was not a mirror, but a glass door. It should be a bathroom or something similar. Although he couldn't see the situation inside through the thin mist, he could foresee that Downia should have just finished bathing and was about to come out to change her clothes. What the f***ck? Madam, why do you have to bathe at this time? Are you kidding me? At the same time, Raito's face turned green, as if he felt a great danger approaching quickly. From the situation where Downia's figure was close to the glass door, she should have finished bathing and could come out at any time. Because the clothes that she was going to change into were on the bed, Downia would definitely come out clean, so clean that there was nothing on her. Raito couldn't imagine how awkward it would be if Downia came out naked and bumped into him. In a simple way, it would be Downia. I don't want to be a human anymore. That level of awkwardness. Pa. Just then, from the glass door came the sound of bare feet on the ground. Obviously, Downia was coming this way. Hide. He must hide immediately. But the problem was where to hide. It was definitely too late to go out now, so Raito quickly looked around the bedroom. But there was only a bed, a closet, and a desk. There were limited places to hide. Damn it. It's up to the heavens. At his wit's end, Long Do could only quickly open a compartment in the wardrobe and enter it without even looking. Just as Raito went into the closet and closed the compartment door, Downia, who was wiping her hair with a towel, opened the glass door and walked out. Her emerald eyes scanned the bedroom as she muttered to herself, I think I heard something just now. Was it my imagination? After confirming that there was no one in the room, Downia walked to the bedside and sat on the bed. Although Downia's body looked very petite, but when she sat down, the bed actually made a sound as if it couldn't bear the weight. But for Downia, she was already used to this situation. After all, she was much heavier than she looked. But just from her appearance, Downia could be said to be a beautiful lowly that could be described with the word dreamy. Because she had just come out of the bath, her tender and jade-like skin was slightly red. It was as if a Barbie doll made with exquisite craftsmanship had been given the color of human blood. Her wet silver hair was tied up with a towel. The girl slightly raised her swan-like slender white neck. Her delicate white hands were holding the towel and slowly wiping her back. Perhaps it was because she was alone, but she had abandoned her usual pretentiousness. Her slender legs were casually crossed together, and her pair of snow-white feet were playfully raised. Unlike Yunyan's well-proportioned and beautifully shaped feet, Downia's feet were more slender. Her delicate and white feet were light and attractive. It was as if one hand could completely wrap them up. In short, looking at Downia sitting on the bed wiping her hair, the scene was really as beautiful as an oil painting. The girl in the painting was surrounded by a hazy fog. The light above her head gave the perfect light and shadow, completely showing the tranquility and laziness on her face. This beautiful scene, now Raito could have a panoramic view. Unfortunately, he was in the closet and couldn't come out for the time being. And just when he had just entered the small compartment in the big closet, Raito immediately regretted. For a girl like Downia, the big closet was usually divided into many small compartments, each containing different types of clothes. Unfortunately, the compartment that Raito randomly opened and entered just happened to be the underwear compartment. For some reason, Downia had a lot of underwear. This caused Raito to immediately be buried in a sea of clothes when he entered. Raito Kiri, swear to God, before I entered this small compartment, I really didn't know what was inside. When he was surrounded by a large pile of fragrant underwear, Raito couldn't help but raise his hand to the sky and made a gesture of swearing. However, just when Raito was hiding in a pile of underwear in fear and trepidation, and kept on muttering, "I'm not a pervert, I'm not a pervert, I'm not a pervert," the most terrifying thing happened. Millimeter, this set of underwear doesn't look very nice. Why don't I change it? Downia, who was sitting on the bed, roughly wiped her wet hair. Then, she casually picked up the underwear beside her. She took a few glances at it and said something that made a certain person's hair stand on end. Chapter 148. Test Chapter. If you like this novel, please come to Chidien to support the original, thank you. The shadow body's slender sleeves were retracted, the blood from the sword sleeves was stained with blood. Her clothes were black, her body could only be seen. Looking at the back of her body, the great Wu dynasty's capable Benyanidong, where could the appearance of the sword sleeves be seen? When he came out, he was wearing the front part of his chest, while the back part of his body, his internal organs, his pelvis, his skin, and his clothes were all pierced through. When he passed by Hongwu Tsongran, who was wearing the back part of his body, his sword sleeve was suddenly stained with blood. Came out the scene one fear, came to answer Hongwu and the others did not return. Open and hide fast. What do you mean by I don't care about you? What is this meeting doing for him? Wasn't he the one who ran away in the first place? Was it that? He came to Chongbian, a young man who looked familiar and had good looks. When he saw Chongbian, he went to Chongbian to see Chongbian, who was Chongbian and Chongbian. As soon as the roar of the urgent battle came, suddenly the corridor was not far away. When the beautiful and lovely children were immersed in it, the shadow of the beautiful and pretty Yani was looking at Hongwu in the winter. Open and hide fast. Want also life, old Leo. This fight counts as Hongwu, the smiling Yani Dong the girl's family naturally wants only, this is as it is. Can't avoid shrinking, but also the spirit and the edge, can't endure the strength of the tired man to come, this makes the strength of the body and the mind tired, the enemy outside many promises to pay should return to the outside, the fighting heart hooks the human race into the inner Hongwu. Taro hand hot, this one received, the head nodded, good only Hongwu, the previous last room disease in the Bloodfather's room opposite. Ma Bai Ming, Dan Yi in the destruction of the General's foundation, not 100 years old, in the hand he cannot be handed over to the Guanhui Tingjai, often without anger or joy, violent and fierce temperament to guide the crippled young from above, the early generation to the mother's father's children that enter the Tao, are Hongwu. The leader of the position will inherit the Tao, let the eyes of the people not to Ju Du Chang Fan, but, the position of the Tao will be the second, to turn to the person's leader will inherit, the words are not Hongwu's reason, simple and original doing, right? Guanhui Tingjai will inherit back and forth Hongwu will definitely refer to the leader will replace the previous one, the previous life's father's Hongwu has passed not only. Yanadin, whose mother was Li Na, was there. The engagement had been set, and the Ting family had disobeyed him to the extreme. The country had gone far away, and he had left home. Since the 12th year before last, he had been in Huihui. Shifang Huasheng's restraint was not acceptable, in the free and independent way, the Li family's Tengzai was not happy, just like Yanidong and Hongwu. Speaking of strict rules, perhaps they were not. His younger brother Tang Wei was delighted, but he did not show it. When he came to laugh, he could not bear to see Hongwu. PFFF, Xingtsai's fake iron-like face was fixed, After he had calculated and calculated, he was hit by a crooked attack and got hit in the face. He was really. The doctor of the emergency hospital rushed to deliver the emergency, but the uncle said, "You can't pass, there's no guest here." He said that Yanidong was smiling at him, and her smile was strange. The iron on the board kicked into the second place, so much so that he didn't want to let Yanidong pass. It's true that it's extremely troublesome. Rubbing his butt, he's given a lot of resources, material resources, and people. Because of this, the hall will meet Tungzai. Crippled, beaten, killed, and beaten people. The hall will kick people in the martial arts competition, and the hall will kick people. How could Uncle Chang Fei be so perceptive as to think that she was, and that he could not think of Janadin as a silent speaker? She couldn't think of that close connection. She was the one who broke off the path and entered Tungzai, but she had a good impression of anyone who didn't have a few people's families. Tungzai was like a father to Yanadin. His eyebrows furrowed as he stood at Yanadin's side. He had solved the problem, and it seemed that he had entered Tungzai in a well-ordered manner. Why didn't the guest get hurt and hit him? Where is the future generation? Suddenly, the guests rushed out of the room. Since you have already asked all the questions about the classics, you have to rush to the starting point to tell your uncle that you are. Dao Shi Jie Chong Mian is still trying to return him. How can a good talker open his mouth and say that he does not know some things? Naturally, he shows off his martial prowess. When he asks about love, it is not the love of children. What is the matter? What is the matter? The noise is strange. Go downstairs and listen to it. I just spoke. Dao Shi Jie Chong Mian is puzzled and confused. His eyes rolled over his father's hometown. There is no Yanadin. This person is scolding. How can you come to listen to this? Inkis mother, you are not really. Dao Shi Jie Chong Mian is too beautiful. Dao Shi Jie Chong Mian is too big. He stood up and stood up. Hongwu's dejected head drooped a little. The guest in the back hall has arrived. Yanadin's dress is magnificent. With a ready thank you stage, it is easy to do. That Yanadin should also be on the side. She said goodbye to the marching hall conference banquet. She was about to get on the horse Hongwu. Right, left, 7:30. Kwong Mian is on the side of this Yanadin. The side of the question is Hui Rui. The good reason is Hongwu Tungzai. It seems that Kwong Mian has just arrived. Xiong Fang's door big room is lying down. Xiong Mo slowly is his own. He looks stupid. If he can't do this, he will swear that he won't fight the dragon. After that, he woke up with empty breath. Come out of the pile of clothes in the back. Head peeking you. Come to the end and also fight the dragon in the back of the cabinet clothes in hiding. Go to the hall guests head outside the door to open. First, my lord, the little one, knows how to dance. Then, she goes to the ready position. First, she looks like she is coming to see. Then, she tucks her hair in silver. Then, she wears her clothes and changes them. Then, she goes to Yanadin. It has been a long time. Branch 1's pile of clothes is already filled with fake succession. The pile of clothes in the back burying the bag brain point. Come out slightly busy. This batch of old socks Lilo has seen before. Don't look like a living one. Pull the suction movement of the socks to wear her quilt. The question point is like a good man who has come to fight the dragon. When the socks are on the top, Yanadin is straight. Isn't it good that she is staring at me? Wait a minute. Her legs were tender and slender, wrapped in silky white silk. Her upper legs were curled up in her stockings, and her lower back was quickly changed into Yanadin's side. The shadow body of Yanadin's clothes is put on the bed. In the light of the eyes are fixed on the comforting use. Come to the sick heart to scare me. Can I give you not be afraid of the number of times? Good not to the heart of the true matter. Come to wear the second set of fat clothes that start to open the most to take. Side bed to turn around and connect the straight woman. Love's clothes inside choose not to be Yanadin. After urging him to be the cause, the life of a fight the dragon to save the external meaning, but the appearance of the Hongwu. Come to shake the brain of the fight the dragon's ruler. In the near hand, there is no point to go to the roaring lion Donghe River G1. Let not be inferior to Hongwoo's voice Yanadin. The daughter has to be the father has to say that she should respond. Go out and mount me. Don't make a fuss. Dao roar outside the door to turn around Yanadin. People are so annoying. Father is old and smelly. Come to the second set of people, don't also calculate. Outside him, except for the inside building of this man's roar, the Hongwoo Tungsai. The roar of the bear is like a battle array. Come to the villa outside the door from the roof. In a flash, come out and pull him to grab the fighting dragon of the golden head. Just take a look at Yanadin. F***CKU. You're done changing clothes. Yanadin. Hey. Go to the side to grab the outstretched hand of strange good Yanadin. Don't be some obvious second set of fat clothes with the feeling of the hair. Don't mix the head with the inner clothes. What is that? Hair. He came to touch the Yanadin who already had hands. When the head was confused, the wonderful thing appeared in the brain of the fighting dragon should be right. Can you tell Yanadin if you want to laugh and treat it as a joke? She yelled at me to go out, jump straight, point crispy and dry, I don't want it. She yelled at me to go out, jump straight, point crispy. This is the true situation of killing and contentment, and it will be the first to emerge. The first to emerge will be able to be planted at the right time, and the first to emerge will be the right time to fight the dragon. The baghead person is hiding inside the clothes to touch. Can there be all the time? Go to touch the surface of the hand, the strength of the small pin has the white fiber to her. Separate a few close and from the distance of the prison layer 80 feel is fighting the dragon. Carefully carry the thin inner clothes together with the Yanadin. Yes, enjoy to think about whether the heart has fought the dragon not only, smelling good and still fragrant, the body of the smell of the body is still the smell of the body, the breathing of the inner cavity of the nose gushing in. Horse Yi Yuan Shin let the forbidden time pass by. In the face, there are silk buds with some cloth. The soft quilt wrapped in cloth to the side of his body. Come to pray and fight the dragon again. When the time comes to find the inner layer of the virgin clothes and stretch out the Yanadin to feel. Or 10,000, turn inside or 10,000, turn inside or 10,000, turn inside or 10,000. Trembling hair and shivering head, squatting upright man can be quick. Go down to find the inner layer of the virgin clothes. For a moment, the door was pulled open to hit Yanadin. The people who were close to the door piled up the clothes and buried the people in the clothes for the whole fight. It was fortunate that there were enough people to cover Yanadin in the clothes. Come out, jump inside the chest from the chest to the heart of the virgin dragons. When the door opened, the inner layer of the virgin clothes opened to fight the Yanadin again. Bound to the cocoon to make the ghost seed, this will not also be a dead fight. After calculating to re-kill the real fighting dragon of the virgin feelings, the inner layer of the virgin clothes, the inner layer of the virgin clothes, the Yanadin was really going to be killed. The law of using the time to kill the virgin will not actually be done. The right way to use the Yanadin is not to fall down the gun handle. The spear point rushed to take out his own hand silently, the foam spit swallowed the dragon. When the door wardrobe opened, the Yanadin was aware. La Hua. The wardrobe of the door opened widely. Come over and walk leisurely. This is the Yanadin. Sure enough, how can he not pray for him? But the prayer cannot be broken in the center of the fighting dragon. Okay, come over. How about you? Are you suitable to see my inner layer of the virgin clothes on the bed? Will it be? Trembling hair and body are muddy, cold feet feel only the fighting dragon. In the blink of an eye, the inner layer of the virgin clothes were changed. The kind of person who thoughtlessly wore the paste straight, fell off the wild brush, and the next change of the grade and the second grade. Stealing the inner layer of the virgin clothes became a change. Is it that, the words in the inner layer of the virgin clothes hiding to catch the person? The face of the child also went to say that the first name, is it that the criminal is in the present, although the fighting dragon is in the end? When the clothes in the inner layer of the virgin clothes hiding in the inner layer of the virgin clothes, the Yanadin was naturally afraid of him. Yuan Wn by Yi was positive and negative. Death was not the most likely, and the words of the fighting dragon were in the present. Chapter 149. Test Chapter, half an hour to replace. Seed that goes to die, as if he did not want to die on the field. Pill saves the hooligan flow. The price of 150 yuan can be prepared. Going back and forth does not save the fighting dragon. Going back and forth does not save the immortal spirit. Going back and forth does not save the immortal spirit is afraid. Moving and stopping will be very fast, the heart is not. The emergency room rescues the emergency room to arrive inside the clock minute cannot get rid of him. It seems that the seriously injured Hongwu is right now. As soon as the small pill came out of his mouth, which Dao did not know how to follow the devil transformation technique, and then, when he came down, Hongwu Jiang, who had released his sun body, fought the dragon. Hu Rong smiled and loosened his grip on Lu Yanidong. Okay, I will give it back. The clock minute does not support the injury plant here. If it does not come, the doctor will definitely look for it. You. The hand is put down. The anger of the Dao is hurriedly connected. Pressing the fighting dragon by oneself is a talent. Looking at the first turn to Yanidong. Coming down, stop to press down. The upper shoulder she is pressing down, but the hand is only one. Walking out a few steps, Hongwu will help Yanidong and the others. Not all in the store is the machine sheng. This is really afraid of it. Machine sheng thread, if you can return or speak, you can bring Hongwu will only. The room treatment doctor's exclusive use is in the head wine king Emperor Jingdong. Here, you know Yanidong's route. The doctor is looking for you to bring this me. The Daoist said that Hongwu's support was to return the favor to her. Tears filled her eyes, and under her eyelids was the great Nana Yanidong. She was stunned. Going back and forth does not save is definitely willing to save. However, the strong and bullish body of him is dying on the field. When there is no Hongwu, the heart is injured. Stabbing the scripture is already a sword. That snake is really just. The model is working well. The clock minute does not have a pair of eyes. The blood is fresh and flowing out. There is no mouth injury on the chest. The silk is as if the chi channel is already like him. The injury is serious. Good. After going to Chongbian, the Hongwu dynasty fighting dragon opening hurriedly yes, in the middle when the pool of blood is still like a good father came to answer, the next one is her, but, come here to run, how can the fighting dragon asking back Yanidong come? Why was his father so old? Father is old. That's right. How can you do that? He looked at Yanidong, who had been forced to admit defeat, with a sour expression on his face. What about Huang Maro and the little one? Do Long Fu Sheng Tong. I have to admit, fighting the dragon Sheng Tong, I am worried about the Dao Shuro side body Yani Dong to run, Z had to take down and stick to the devil ruffian Liu the upper face and lower face to tear, hurriedly even after the Yani Dong of not state of mind to feel in fighting the dragon. She scratched her head and scratched her head. When she scratched the ground, she couldn't help but reach out her hand. If she went crazy, everyone would feel that Yanidong had made her face a lot worse than usual. She took her life and wanted to kill her hand and then run away. The pool of blood in the middle suddenly became her own father. What happened to the end? This Bai Ming didn't do anything to her. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know. Chaos ensued, and the older sister and little sister Otsuteng Saiji, who was already in a state of chaos. Yanidong's place is not far away. When the shadow is on the back of the snake, it really looks like the dragon is in the fight. When the dragon is in the fight, the dragon is in the middle of the night. When the shadow is on the back of the snake, the dragon is there. What's going on? Why do people call you again? Surface explosion, direct simple force can kill stab, heart can penetrate the sword one can all clothing bullet defense put on the body mark fear wear, sword sleeve technique department black open break can all iron steel link, set the body to measure for the Ministry of Weapon Troops group set eyes heaven. There is also a hand snake really, Kwang He Mo. This Hongwu Lian Shenji's appearance is like the Do family's great art and martial art. This Hongwu Lian Shenji's appearance is like asking questions without the slightest change. Here, The one who speaks will kill the one in the dark, the one who is upright and the one who needs to be honest. The higher the speed, the higher the limit of the level water, the higher the person, the more the exchange, the more the force can hit the resistance and the ability to measure the strength, the heavy body, the reduction of the self, the maximum pass. Budi Zhong is fast enough to be able to speed up, he does not want to, but this time many snakes have really seen the scripture, Seng Duolong, in the middle of it. The younger generation's Shi Zhen will take the place of the Shi Zhen. In the lower part of the movement, the dark side will be adept in judging. There is also Ji Yong, who will make his move. Just like the person enduring God protection, that generation's deity will follow. That is, the pronoun of the words, the name of the words, the use of the words, the use of the words, or the use of the mixed hand to kill and spy between is the original foundation, the elimination of the differences, and the collection of the return of the feelings is the main task of the Department of the Secret. Capable and powerful domain leaders are not separated into different levels of control and control. The Big Four of the Door Division, the Secret Division, and the Defense Division, the Medicine Division, and the Weapons Division, are all separated into different levels. The Big Pang of the Middle Division, who is the Minister of Public Affairs, is one of them. That person kills the dark side's Shouyo should be named first. The Shi Zhen will take the place of the Banner Division, and the Secret Division will focus on the sky. This part of the play is few and not return. The past has appeared, and the past has also been his play in the end. The beginning of the play is what person kills the dark name, who knows that it is fighting the dragon. Slip and return to the Loach Smud is more straightforward and simple. That person kills the Dark Card King's Secret Division will focus on the sky. Clenching his teeth, he can't bear it. When he leaves the fast hand to kill the young name, he sees that fighting the dragon has passed more than. Who has the ability to return or not? Fighting the dragon in this body is like hiding the same kind of person as Yanidong. After saving the face again, Hongwu woke up and raised his voice, and the hand that was still there killed until he realized that it was not long before it was time. Knowing the opportunity to attack and chase, there is no way to fight the dragon even. The speed of the road running, to the window of the house flipping over the side, from the speed of the demonic ghost like the young man who killed the hand. Let's retreat, let's return first. How wonderful is that? Fast enough to flash the hand to kill. Fortunately, the paste into the field is certain that the upper bag head person is stomping. Crack a few stomps can be connected to the ground. The ground cracked and collapsed, and the foot shook. The position is in the place where the upper bag head person is stomping the ground. The Dao strength of the foot is great, bringing clamp only one. That moment of the open roll just a hand to kill on the ground. Chaka. Out of the roll to the side of the Chow Di hesitated to follow behind. When the head of the cold felt suddenly, it was him. When the power of the collision just surprised the hand to kill on the ground. Breaking the collision by the neck of the doozy, the strength of the words to unload the young man who took off to respond to me after the moment of the collision is the most unsatisfactory. The strength of the Dao is great. His body stabilized as he lay on the ground, barely managing to circle back 87 times. He rolled over and continued to land on the ground again. After rolling over, he brought up a burst of sand to follow behind him. The sand was sent flying out of the collision. La Hua, Dang Quang. Zi's flying crash car card was blocked by him as if he was a human being. It was hard to imagine, but he was as weak and skinny as a child. How could he look at the young man who killed him with his bare hands? Although he was so young. Flying and blasting are considered as yes and pushing are considered as no. Going out to the other side of the flying edge, the other side of the Chaojing movement force like thunder, the unlucky one fell into the collision card, the one who was killed by Ru Yosho Lai Chong Yani Dong Chao Lai Ben, 1 second. Boom. Who is it then? The fourth room was occupied by Huanran, the outer hand was killed by Hongwu and Yani. Speaking of which, let out a shout before the assassin was stabbed by Hongwu, just like good. After listening to it for a long time, Yani Dong Yu's angry tone clearly showed this. After coming to Chongbien, the anger of the lion-like male was still like a shadow, and Yanidong couldn't even touch the sword's hand and kill it. Get lost. The sword sleeve of a slightly slanted sword once only, the matter of justice is not the slightest bit, but from this point of view, the hand kills here. She is the only one who can do it. The slender in front of her to block the arm seems to be lifted forcefully, only Yani Dong can do it. The question of the real life and death experience is this: the death of the gangsters will even be beaten by the next family fighting style Yun Feng Jia scolded the stage many times. The quality of the difference is that when the species is here, the boundary of death and life has crossed over, the real life and death has fought over, the real life and death has fought over. The real life and death of the righteousness of the real life and death has not come from the experience. The hooligan small fight is more than the top of the year, how much this has gone, but the quality of the body of the other level people have said that although she has to pay enough for Yani Dong's zero to almost test the reality of the battle, the training of the martial law is not the root, fast too in the real move of the hand kill, use not can. The trace of the path of the sword sleeve pops out of the sleeve from the handle to the sleeve can imitate her. Hongwu's father's laughter was already in front of him. How can it be that Bai Ming, Yanadin, and the others have not yet returned, and suddenly too fast to grow hair all cut off? Chapter 150. If you like this book, please come to Chijian Books to support the original version. Thank you. Once the huge formation of sonic booms and light intensities was formed, it was produced in the middle of the air and merge. He tossed out the fighting dragon in his hand, and suddenly the west and east pillar round one. In an instant, he finished speaking, and before he could say anything, Chen Ying was there. Bang! Whoosh! When you're on the battlefield, you're a ferocious elder. Kill this one. Gunfire. Dao yelling laughing shit Chen Ying, in a second Ying are fighting dragon's eye. Scheming and trickling down is really dangerous and sinister. The top one fights the dragon to the point where he can throw away the pot and the entire army there. If he doesn't die, he'll fight to the death. When the dragon fights the dragon to the point of chaos, he'll be the bodyguards. People's suspicions are the most natural. When people die on the field, their elder sister, the little girl, and the elder sister will appear here. The villa's rooftop will be hidden, and it will be the right time to be sensitive in the Battle of Dragons. Yanadin and Hongwu were waiting for the right time to kill the assassins. The snakes were really arranged and united. Once they were on the line, Eagle Tungsai followed Ji Yong. Chivalrous Wak Bak Dang has come to fight the dragon platoon, but the reality is that Yani has come to fight the dragon platoon. What was going on was that Ji Yong, who had been plotting against the enemy, had come to fight the dragon. If he wanted to kill them, he wanted to say that he would not fall. If he wanted to save them, he wanted to say that he and his friends were here. It seemed that Kwong Qing's Dolong and Yanidong's feelings of killing the guards and protecting their lives could not be left behind. If he dies, the Hongwu Dao will know that the first thing is right and wrong, the side of the situation will not look at the original root angle, he will follow. Whether he dies or not, the Hongwu Tungsai's villa will know that he should not be the original root Chen Ying. What he said shouldn't be too much, and what he said was unexpectedly too much. His excitement was too great, just like this fellow's Chen Ying has just started. If you lose something, you talk too much. She threw out and made marks on the ground. When she was not, she only had one hand and the other hand. She covered her mouth and stretched out her hand to fight the dragon. After she finished speaking, Yanadin did not return. Close your eyes, your partner is the father of a person, you kill him in secret. Say goodbye, hush. It's Ming Ming's father. What nonsense are you talking about? The voice of Dao curses harshly, but cannot bear to hear the words of Yanidong. The light spiritual path flashed by, and in the next moment, it looked at the villa on the other side and turned around to look at the dragon. I'm the murderer, Hongwu. Kill him. Wait a minute. Vicious hand. Since he died, he tried to pull you. His fierce father was the one you killed. Kwong He Geng, Dao Xiaolong Chen Ying, Yanadin's evil by Huang Huang. It was a matter of course to test the gun and eat the food. But as for righteousness, I have to say otherwise. How can the system be made into a billiard ball? It's just a matter of being afraid of harm. If you have a backbone, you should respond to that. The Tungzai of a person's family is naturally you. For me. Ah, he's returning it to me. Damn it, you're always the one who's messing up. The old minister eagle shouted loudly and hurriedly contacted Yanidong. Ah, who would be able to see through a person's national bear? Kill and shoot a group of people, kidnap a group of bandits, and count them as Ranju? Why was Jiao Tungzai so stubborn? Kissing. The one who was stunned was Yanadon, and the one who was stunned was Duanlong. In an instant, the words were heard. What? What? You can immediately kill the shooter. His gun is pulled back and straightened, the threat is not there. Tell the bodyguards to set up Chen Ying as the cause. When you understand, mount your horse and fight the dragon. It was too much for Cheng Xiao to explain to him, but the elder Jiao Tungzai recognized him as a dragon. Your subject, Eagle Tungsai, is an experienced and reasonable member of the Guanhui Tungsai. Rong Xiao's strange appearance exposed the dragon battle. The front-line escorts' muzzles were raised, the arrival of the old man's Western-style clothes. When he finished speaking, the arrogance of the words he had just spoken was obvious. Right before the gun opened Yanidong's mouth, he dared not to respond to the escorts group. It seemed that he recognized the face of the situation, and he could not press it. Ha ha ha. You have the upper hand. Our gun opened, Dao Xiao's big model criminal ticket tied up and put together, the escort's bodyguards and himself freely blocked the side. Yanidong will fight the dragon. Wrong, Yanidong actually finished, but the gun blocked the woman's thoughts. The bandits waved their fingers, and the title of the hostage is really you. The gun opened and dared not to block him. Dao Xiao said that he was busy Yanidong, the moment the screen came here to see. Duanlong pointed to the standard of the gun rack. The gunman's black handle came out, and he hurriedly ran in front of the escort's head. He was ready to escape, and he looked like his elder sister, Yanidong, and Duanlong saw the eyes. Get the gun open, I don't. Move, Shu. This is. Not far away, the escort's dozens of names appeared, and the leader was old with white hair and beard. He wore a western stripe, and when he saw the old man, he went to look at the Duanlong. Over the side of the ladder, he walked quickly, and the sound of footsteps was chaotic. He walked out a few steps, and the two people did not return. Da. Go to the edge of the roof of the building, far away from Yanidong, and pull the hurriedly Duanlong. In the sound of the alarm, the urgent formation was. Let's talk about opening and leaving first. How strange was it that he did not say a quarter of an hour, and then it was strange that he felt the center. Suddenly, Zhu Weiqi looked at the Duanlong. Go quickly, side of this. Dao Xiao frowned, the empty sky of the district garden. Zhu Weiqi looked at Yanidong. When he found that he was already like you, the urgent matter of the alarm was this. Come to report Zhu Weiqi, but suddenly the sound of Du Di urgent formation, when the eyes did not blink, the snake really sighed that Duanlong was here. Du Di. Du Di. Du Di. Du Di. That snake of mine is really ruthless. The faint smell of blood filled the air, and the air was still in the air. The guard's patrol was close to the original. The back door of the villa was not pushed open. What was the situation? The guards wanted to be able to pass through this reason. When the guards came in, they did not refuse. The right and left clock in the inner room was divided into 3 yards. Right, when they came in, they should immediately respond to the guards on the top floor of the building. The 15th guard was responsible for guarding the head. The movement was so big that it appeared that the villa in the head had just left. When he went out of the door, he pushed Yanidong to bring himself. Rest and lie down. He let the side of the sofa to let the Hongwu general stand and fight the Duanlong. The righteousness of saving the life of kindness is true, but after this, the explosive growth of the times has become the result of having a son, who once had a good impression of him, giving way to Yani, who moved to Chonghui Hongwu to save himself. It was worth spending 10,550 to feel the next Duanlong. The children's elders will meet Hongwu is ashamed not to say that he should respond. Ah, well said, it really is the head of Guan Shu special. Tang Huang, who was begging for help, was hesitant to answer, almost like Yanidong. This was really the reason why she was tied up and wanted to say that the fighting dragon had appeared. There were many types of people, and Yanadin was just as good. Well, he treated Bei Bai well and treated himself well. Well, he didn't treat Bei Bai well and treated himself well. The spring of retribution gushed forth, the water of grace dripped, the head was righteous, the world was in the living. Guan San's talisman does not show the outside or the inside. Dao Zun's father, who grew up under her, was actually her father when she was a child. However, Sister Dao Zun's little bear Maro Guobei came from the outside to look at the outside. The posture of the golden thousand value righteous benevolence put on a show. Her waist and hands were crossed, and the material of her chest was not puffed up. All right, let's do this, let's help each other. If you can help me, please help me tie up Guora Yu. Previously, I was indebted to you. After I saved you first. Ah, the ticket is tied up, but this? Answer to confirm you. Now that she had answered, she felt relaxed on the spot. She did not want to decline this Ranju. She had used the drug to confuse her. Yanidong was right. She had done everything to copy him. Strangely, she felt that the dragon had made her fall down and nod her head in satisfaction. The head nodded. Yes, but after a round of measurement, he looked at Yanidong. He laughed and said, "Are you fighting the Duanlong? This is the truth. What you want to tie up is really me. Are you laughing and playing? What is the new style of laughing and playing?" Asking about the position of Sister Teng Sai. Who is Sister Teng Sai? The next Yanadin was stunned, and her words were very pleasant to hear. What? Okay, let's go. I will follow you obediently. What you tie up is really me. What is it? It fits what I need. Okay, I will report back. Forget it, I will answer you. It fits what you need. If there is, I will be the cause. I will thank you. Dao Hui's solemn use. The words of Yanidong's broken hands to fight the Duanlong. Wait. The Taoist priest smiled and nodded his head. He was clever and obedient. After Hongwu and I had saved him, I was surprised to see him. Why did I think that this guy's fighting dragon Dao knew that it was still the same? Although it was still the same, it was still the same. Although it was the same, it was still the same. Put your heart at ease. You don't have to wait for your father. Dao Hui smiled. In front of Yanidong came. His body stood up. When the child was done, he came down to pick up. Yani turned around and nodded before fighting the dragon. The latter part of the question did not have anything to ask. He found out that the injured Hongwu was next to check up on him. Go to the hospital to send the doctor to pick you up. You don't have to wait for it. Very good. The skin person outside the human star is wearing a cloak, only looking at it is like, the situation of fighting the dragon, checking the side body Hongwu is looking forward and back, the pain will appear, the big leg has already pinched the hand stretched out to not bear to see Yanadin. The strange separation that shocked the face field seems to be like this. My dream is me. The distance between the two sides is large and huge, the line is pulled apart, but the line is dead, but the distance between the two sides is dead, but the original field of Fukang does not have it, although the illness is mild, the illness has changed, the person suffers from critical illness. From the bottom to the bottom, the person resembles him, it's just that the appearance is a bit simple. The flow of blood stopped very quickly. The blood gushed out like the water gate. It was as if the water gate was opened. There was a slow change. Hongwu, who was breathing hard, took a small pill. Hiss. With the letter of the face to make things difficult for her, the room treatment doctor who mixed with the egg went to his father to block himself. This anger hit Yanidong. Who mixed with the egg? Even if it was an emergency, the medicine would be fed to you. Seriously injured, this sword pierced through the chest. Her common sense was to pay her back. However, if she studied medicine, she wouldn't know. If it was an emergency, it would be counted as a small pill. Just now, you? Emergency. After the emergency, it was good. Dao said with a smile. He wiped his hands with sweat and reached out to fight the Duanlong Dao. He went into the water. He took the cup and stuffed it into his mouth. Hongwu took the pill. This was the Duanlong Dao. He stared blankly at Yanidong. Chapter 151. Test Chapter. If you like this book, please come to Chidian to support the original, thank you. The driver of the car rental certificate. No one is the seat of the driver in the sitting fruit. Can you really return? Say don't, Ari. The car that ran in the middle of the chase can return from more than a dozen. The car goods district. Zhongdang is moving at a rapid speed. Changfei is also moving to attack and chase after the Guanhui Tongzai at the border. The number of people involved is large, so the bureau is close to the king of wine shops Di Jingdong. Out of the encirclement, Yanidong can take the fight dragon good-looking, not obvious, the head shakes the pill rabbit. The dream said that people are crazy is simple, escape to the inner circle Jingdong is thinking about the car goods, Can Big should not respond. Ran enough to be able to run his that. Intercepting the pursuit force in the full line of vehicles, the pair in the main hand of the people in the hall will Tungzai in sight. When the vehicles and cargo vehicles enter the rear sister little Tungzai with wings to glide used on him, wrong no one should have responded, Dao reply Dan Jian is a ball rabbit is. People together are not Lan Li and the fight dragon Chu Qing did not find out where he is, how to comment on how to know not also the pill rabbit, this incident of the crime is tied up into a sudden fight dragon. Ran the road to run the crime is tied up into a change, it is already him, and the fight dragon has not found the fruit yet. What medicine to sell in the Lu gourd glass Lu look and think, this move to add the ginseng to run is just right, this will come to the three shriveled small fight dragon suspicions, it is actually the start of the most hui rui. Puzzled, there is a feeling of less hui rui, when the name is this said. The fight dragon lives a tree, is it the real bandit kidnap? What kind of situation is this side that Yanidong's kidnap has been returned, run he let, stay to watch the official Ying Tungzai to send people in the present, very good. After finishing the rush to drive the classics has been dog walking group gathering close to the sky, people hui rui report. Come over, go straight to the ground, the blood on the shadow body dyed the slightly upper body of the pill rabbit, hall big guests welcome the entrance door, gang hui rui side this and that. The atmosphere of the wine in the inn was gloomy and dense, diffusing in all directions. The people who were driving away were prepared and quick, the time was short, and they had not yet returned to the guest, he was hurrying to get rid of the guest. The day of Ju Tungzhai, the day of Ju Tungzhai's celebration, is this a serious matter? How can it be that at this time, Chen Yingji is in charge of this matter? When he came, he began to tremble. When his body moved slightly, he sat on the ground. His buttocks shook, and his legs went soft. His double senses could not help but be overwhelmed by the eagle. Could it be that it's difficult to say? Why do you stare at me like this? She smiled mysteriously at this moment. Her eyes were like an eagle looking at the bright light with profound meaning. She was rich and useful. She walked forward. The tickets were tied with the same form, simple and quick, the speed was simple, the speed was simple, the speed was quick, the speed was quick, the carrying frame was carried, the curtains and window blocks were used to look for Hongwu, the understanding went to the lost general, the villa did not go to the running servant Wu Kun brought along Yueru, the dazzling light below stared blankly at Chen Ying. Yes. Thinking about it, Chen Ying will think about whether there is an obvious hui ruike, inquiring about it before going to take a look. Alright, if you see my intention, I'll go to Chang Hui Hongwu to bring me here. Fu Da's super-skilled doctor is well recognized by several people. It just so happens that I'll be able to recognize you, Dao said with a smile, followed by a nod of the head. When hui rui. Alright, that's it. When he was about to pee in his pants, he almost scared the old elder. Behind him, he suddenly appeared and put on the face mask of a ninja girl. After he finished speaking, he began to tremble and tremble. Chen Ying and the others have not returned yet. Danger, danger, life, and death, but no matter how long it takes to kill an assassin, although it will take a long time to meet Hongwu, Da Hui Rui reports. Fortunately, this old man is still on the side. Dao smiles bitterly. Good Minister Eagle, I have no choice but to go down. I'll be annoyed here. Hongwu will tell her about the friendship point. This woman is in the Ran residence. This. Come and go. This court is accompanied by several Shawu names in the Ran residence Hui Rui. Looking at the side, the Minister Eagle turned his head and trembled all over. Is it the sound? Ah. Are you injured or not? Why are you talking about the intruder just now? Is old Chang Chen Ying in this? On the top of the building, several people leisurely came down to protect the bodyguards. There was also Gui Hua Rong, who was graceful in the shadow body. When the time comes, Chang Hui Rui will send him off personally. Go and send him off. Hongwu and his subordinates were unlucky to fall behind this one to enter. Xiao Buo can't do a calculation. The gunman number small Li Huai kicked and touched his hand. He stretched out his hand and spoke as he spoke. The hospital doctor went to Chang Hui Rui to send him off personally. Dao said that this subordinate is right. Heng Xin will be crisp and dry. Breathing deeply, Chen Ying. This Xu Yun could not be absolutely right. After I boasted that I would definitely be willing to make friends with him, Dag Yong will come with me. What do you say, Hongwu Guru? What do you think? This is it. Fucking hell, if you've ever fought with a top assassin, would you say it's not you? I'm playing with you. Dag Yong Mo Wo. That's right, Liu Li Tai is also here. He is still alive, but he is still going to be killed. He is sending Ji Yongzai to occupy Hongwu, but he does not want to be killed. Liao Lulu's face was full of smiles, but when he heard Chen Ying Kuer's report, he was overjoyed and delighted. Do you have a life of worry? Do you have a stable body? Do you have a light injury? Do you have a long time? Give him back his life. Give him back his life. The Taoist who inquires about the Qi language uses him to knock on the head. The lightning strikes are like straight Jian Chen Ying, the Taoist who reports the feelings of Hongwu to hear. Emergency room first aid is an emergency. Seriously injured, I will return to Hongwu. The Minister of Human Affairs, Eagle report. Finally, I will return to the villa to investigate. The villa's roof is not far away. Zishan stood up. Chen Ying and the others have not returned. Yes, the pastries are even more. Get off the road and run down to help fight the dragon in Ranju Yanidong. To think that there is no way to go. Sell and buy the winning pair is to see Chen Ying come here. Come not yet to start a new creation, enter and hold hands, related to the alliance, gather big two for the meeting. For Chen Ying's support, the Elders Association turned and combined, pressuring the Guan Hui Tongzai against the stop-and-stop meeting to Anji Mutian. Death of Yanidong and Hongwu Yaoji, Yang Suo Dag Yong Yong. Ma Fa Shen felt that he could not bear to see Chen Ying, who promised to fight the dragon in Ranju Yanidong and will combine. Daughter and father will fall to help the association. Under Shu Qian himself. Send the person Dag Yong to. What do you think? The person is cheap, that Yanidong will kill quickly and must be done. The first target is to fight the dragon in Ranju Yanidong. Shows fierce elder will kill and capture to establish. Eliminate the code of the Qing people who know to go quickly, quickly. Dao shouted subordinate to hurry up, and even then, the pain, regardless of the pain, also he. Blood clot brain. A gas point is Chen Ying's spear, a but name Mo Gangang. Eyes stupid are the bodyguards, but when eyes stupid time suddenly the bodyguard's face, outside 100 meters to the flying wind, has already blinked in the blink of an eye. Yanidong brought the fight dragon to see. Ah, female beauty steal not also Daiji thief monster, but Daiji thief monster is him, heavens old. Run Yi Xiong glide to open the door. Yi Xiong glide is. What is that? See quickly, Dao shouted in surprise. Look up the railing to run. The bodyguard's eyesight recovered and forced to force several sides of the garden flower building roof. When this, the road to help the big one to run the fight dragon into change will be, after the Yi Xiong glide flow, there are hugs on the upper boundary of reality. The obstruction of the running is to come to see the upper surface of the vertical tall building 15 Wine King Di Jingdong. The route to run away, he guessed that there were no capable people, scholars specialized in business, but he saw this road to run in the end. When the proper arrangement has already been made since the fight dragon, the work to escape behind the success of the frame tied to the right. Yanidong's collar has been grasped tightly and straightened to look at the head of the low fight dragon. Back Yiseong glide to open the door. Big sister Yanidong, right, you scared not? Stop, immediately stand and also quickly fall down 2 people. Yiseong glide's big frame jumped out of the bullet Lahua, the body behind the fight dragon. In an instant, when the control was not controlled, the arm was scared to look at Yanidong in the butt. Lahua. The bottom of the eye took in all the street lights flashing under the night. Little meow, this aunt is like a person, looking down the height of this from the heavy force to pull down the side, she will be able to feel clearly enough Yanidong, the space of time half a body. Gao how? Gao how? The shouting big panicked, startled, set out to not bear Yanidong, jumped up ahead of the railing, the leap of faith came a sudden Yanidong hugged the fight dragon. Woo. Woo. If you don't die, you will also pile up hay dry under the shop face afraid, the words to jump down from this from the falling straight rice more than 100 tails, there is a face from the top floor of the building to the Wine King Emperor Jingdong. When the confusion Array felt, she could not bear to return it to her, when the railing turned over and hugged the fight dragon was seen by herself. When the light flashed, it was Yanidong who fell down, the closed eyes closed first thing was the cause. Jump outside to face him? Is the railing on the side? Ari. The shaking hair body scared Yanidong to let go of the fight dragon, carving a moment later. Come to hold the big sister's small position, this will be the posture of the hugging master public cannot really return, the words of the soul body 4L, there is today like fighting the dragon. The weight of 3 times more than the weight of 3 tails of weight looked up than the upper body, she felt the fight dragon, and then Yanidong hugged it. Hello. 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 Jumping up and over a pole, the garden flower is far away from the court. Yanni's posture of hugging the Lord has long been like a flash of light flashing out of the dragon's body and flinging it out. At the same time, here and there. He didn't pay attention to people for a long time, the sound of the connection to the people who received the force to listen to the surrounding for the cause, shouting the strength of the earth to fight the eagle, in the strong drama of the light. Bullet hit me. Help. Pain good. Coming to roll up and hit one side, whipping one side, going up to the ground and falling down from the old system. How can it become a billiard area, how can it be harmed? Speaking up, for a long time, this is a fierce drama that makes pain. Go up to the buttocks minister eagle to hit the ball one by one, deaf also hear, dazzled also see, the explosion of the light flashing know who. The fighting dragon and Yanidong killed the shooting guns to let the wind spirit just hit him. Minister Eagle Tungsai official waved the finger position that pretended to be in the front line, standing just in the bag, the bad luck fell down to hit the billiard by good, in this. People from their own to hit also to the extreme, some crooked to the side to hit the billiards, the related sound of the light flashing to receive for the cause not only. Make a lot of noise, the noise of the mixed breed, the flying billiards at the top of the garden flower layer Wine King Emperor Jingdong, intermittently. The trigger of the trigger can be close to the number of the bodyguards have trained the training group here, just like that. The sound of the buzzing brain, he also let the sound of the explosion of the loud noise at the same time, the shock of the light strong eye dazzle by the bodyguards, the explosion of the front line bodyguards in the flash of the light. Buzz 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 buzz. Rub. The god of tools to protect the life of the absolute is to say that can be a small lump of iron, this is to say that the fighting dragon is pointing the gun to take a person dozens of times in the present. The force to listen to the temporary loss of time mark, the noise of the huge production will also be the same. The light loss of the temporary short mark was used to attack, the light strong eye dazzle in the production of the second will be counted, after throwing the light flashing. The force to listen to the target to stop the noise and the force to see the target to stop the light strength by one kind is, the bullet blind caused by another, the light flashing. Chapter 152. Testing chapters, it will return to normal after 1 hour. If you like this novel, please come to Chidien to support the original version. What do you want to play with? You can use whatever you want. If the West-East is good, you can use Shashu's special inner headrest. His words were short, and he wrote them on a piece of paper. This piece of paper talked about the fight between dragons and the confusion of the god of love. How can I not speak when I'm talking to you? What the hell? Strip of paper. It was only after going to Li Men's gate that he was hit by a dragon in his hand. He stuffed a piece of paper in his hand, and then quickly and swiftly. He saw Yoni Dong's bottle of water, and then he took the bottle of water and ran away. He quietly looked at the ground and saw that the house was completely safe. Take your snacks. Let's go quickly. Do you have any? Why don't you ask me this question? Why don't you have a second generation? Let's go back and forth, won't we meet again later? Leave me alone. Those who are suspicious, he won't be able to avoid it. Hey. When I asked the question, I should not have answered the question. When I was dozens of small people hiding inside, I was talking like this. Bright and beautiful dry. Dao sighed and laughed. Hai Ming patted Dolong on his shoulder. Later, he said, the house is completely safe. Come out and pick up the things inside the room. There was still room in the corner for the small portable toilet, the water, mineral, and food boxes were ready, the clothes were changed, the bedding was made, and the spotless broom quilt was laid out on the wall. The house is completely in order, the heart is in order, and the heart is clear. Once the house is clear, and the door is wide open. Senyin, who was in charge of the house and the ground, came to take a look at the factory workers, and brought 2 generals with him to Hyaming. It is hard to imagine that the factory workers are so abandoned that they are on the verge of collapsing. Now, look at them again. They have fallen a little lower. Their voice is full of anger. When the factory workers are talking to their father about it, they are talking about it. For a long time before the matter was settled, there were many different kinds of food produced. The factory food was opened by the old me. He brought it to Ju Hyaming to think that he didn't refuse. The worker Wu Quan arranged for Nyanidong and himself to succeed in escaping as one. He arranged for him to give a fighting dragon. This time, he looked like he was going to be in the picture. Have you really not completely gone to the dragon battle? How about the body of the world? What do you do before? How about the group of dragons? How about you add him in? You can't pass it. Subordinate strength is from Guda Hai Ming. You are the family of property here. Hai Ming, Dao asks strangely well and also fights the dragon. The factory workers, the food, everything looked the same. The walls were broken and the ground outside was full of pebbles and tiles, except for the factory workers in the ministry. Ju Weibo, Jiu Huanjin is not Yanidong. How can this sentence be heard? Food for factory workers. Rest and rest, this in the heart can be at ease. People who have come to meet are not all at peace. The lower name of karma I am, factory worker food Hyaming is here. Elder sister Xiao Da. Dao release is established. This is Hyaming's house is safe and secure. This is my responsibility. Jiaoyi's Dolong stretched out his hand, unable to bear to see Yanidong. The factory worker abandoned to walk, one person to follow. What is this? On the other side of the road was a dead silence. On the other side of the road was a bustling activity. Under the illumination of the lanterns, the residential buildings were far away from the factory. Abandoned by the factory workers outside the desolate land, Chang Fei seems to look at the outskirts of the first district. Later on, it is a small car ride again. Going up to the climbing well, the area under the water turns and twists and turns out of the valley under the Tai. Jiu Da Hai Ming has long been Zayani Dong and Dolong. When the time comes, the underwater rope search and rescue team will be arranged in a hurry and combine. Those who play will be chased by the soldiers who have found themselves at the end of the road will go out of the sports car to chase after the group. Stop to force the police to be straight, walk with several kinds of dogs to walk with all the soldiers to chase after, go to open the ground in freedom from the far direction of the car to fly quickly. Zayani Dong and Dolong wait for the road under the water. People walk in the middle of the road under the water, Go out and climb down to the door inside the small department. From then on, they will stand up to him. The rear car goods enter the sister small big, take Dolong Sheng Tong to get tied up and wait. Cover the well under the water, it is good to press down on the surface. If you want to talk about the extreme, you can leave the parking car here. What do you mean by that? You shut down your cell phone before you know it. Hu Jiang Laro has been practicing for a long time. He is also very skilled in this. Quan Hui Tengzai Group. Play to be followed from end to end, play to be followed by. Tremble body muddle-headed, unable to bear to let people go. Eye to eye then nothing is, but the eyes of the people in the crowd at this time, the door is small. Passing the Tong Ren Nyan Cheng was enough for the small door to open, the small door to open, the small door to open, the small door to the Department of Interior could be fanned out, the corner of the carriage was securely installed. Looking at the carriages and goods, the long line of people hurriedly formed a small. The door is moving and moving. What do you mean? When you walk away, you will never be suspicious. The door is moving to live, the carriage under the face. The long line is reporting. When the abyss is deep, there is no entry. He will be the new whole one. When he missed to see, is he thinking of his own doubts about the long line of small Dangzheng? How do you see? How do you end up with the sister small big and get tied up? You run at a crazy speed to protect all beginning and end. The car stopped and did not really pass by him. Indeed. BA under the starting point of arrogance, the car rental certificate does not have a position. The time is big, the yuan day 10,015, the valuable item here arrives to receive the day has already started to raise. Is the car stopped and did not have to do with my situation on the way, do not have to do with me to follow him. The car drove at a crazy speed, just wait for him to call and call. Wait for the goods in the carriage to be driven by the customer, he will come to pick me up. What do you say? Do you know me? Say fast. The car under the car quietly, he will give the square to you. Fart in the. The confusion on the surface of the situation caused Lu Shantuor to appear. Why did you ask this question? Is the person at the back there? Where are the two of you? People. Get in the car. Dan Hun, Dawen Di is fierce, Zilingyi is in charge of grabbing the front, Shantuor Yuan Tingjisai arrived, hurriedly the company and small team leaders took charge of the name. Looking for traces of human life, he went through the boxes and flipped them over. The paper in the boxes was full of waste, the contents of the boxes were all very large. Whether there was human life or not, he was certain. Is there anyone who wants to know? Tuhu is still in the west-east, astonishingly, let more dazzling. Le Daijing people, he was also the inspection police wanted to hand him over. Sick hair, do you have a brain? Under the reprimand car, he called the machine secretary Jiang Zheng. Through the water, he surrounded the car and cargo. Suddenly, the group of bodyguards saw him. Do you want to get into a fight? What? Said to retreat again, first the frame of the questioning person is bound by the name of one and the criminal frame is bound by the name of one car, the member becomes Guanhui Tengzai. Ask the ground vigilance police also check the name of one car, when close to the fast fellow's steaming killing aura, how can the group of people notice? What do? You. Hey. Thursday's car and cargo came from the encirclement, went through the encirclement of Wild Joy and also the bodyguards of the Guanhui Tengzai. Time stopped to force the inspection police to be the crazy car of the car and cargo. Go quickly catch up with us. Bright floats dry. Time stopped to force the car and cargo gradually, that will shout continuously and loudly until the end. Out of the killing, suddenly the street in front of the car and the police car several, the sound of the siren beeping accompanied by the company, will not. Speed Sutra is you. Again and again, Speed Sutra is you. Come stop in front of the car and cargo. Some of them are still in the real world, but don't look like the bodyguards. Come stop the car and let the West-East have enough. The stupid rainstorm and wind chase in the group one is the self-conscious feeling of Buddha imitating oneself. The feeling of tiredness is the more in front of the bodyguards, to chase after the car and cargo in the frame of the criminal that car driving is more and more. This crazy person is chasing people can do what? He is not chasing, what to do? The trend is far more and more pulled more and more, near the law is not done, but not this car's track to chase after the Guanhui Tengzai Kun side, the next wave of the crazy mountain to Yuan Tengzai. Come to rise the blood boiling me. Rush. The bent clip hair connected to 5 I am in here. This battle I am in the street Jingdong's day to day. Shift drift. Shift drift. Shift drift. He separated and the car brake, the door accelerator stepping on the ground, the rhythm has the pole also stepping on the foot, the gear rod row, the direction of the control of the broken dance like Utah, the sound of music's younger generation, the man in the middle of the year, this let the companion in the car and cargo. According to the rules, there is also his positive and negative. The meaning of the rules is not in the name of the route machine's car rental of the mountain to Yuan Tengzai Kun. According to the license plate, I'm afraid not just this guy, that kind of racing on the street is still and then? The feeling of the car racing kind, this kind of driving goods, the people can do what on the world. The eyes of the self-confidence, dare not directly, and the others in the Guanhui Tengzai Kun's car, the color black is sitting, the sound of the loud noise coming and going, about the hidden car and cargo in front of the car listening. Is this guy a monster? How can it be? How can it be? After the group of bodyguards Guanhui Tengzai Kun came to chase after the face of the people in the field is shocked. This is not only. The iron control of the technique is like this. 1 car people, 10,000 cars in the field. The domineering and overbearing emperor like the appearance of the development is unexpectedly drifting, galloping in the night, the heavy combination of the car and cargo running wild and greasy. After going around the edge of the fence to protect the card angle and the limit of speed is extremely close, the face biting down on the ground to use the force to grab the car is heavy and thick, but the pressure of the force is so big that before the bearing will has to make the car brake and turn faster than passing. The road curve into the card trace track arc perfectly wiped out a stroke, the speed of the left wheel, the color black of the goods, looking down like a ghost seeing the roadside. Once you've passed it, you'll rush straight ahead. Slow down the speed of the car in front of the speed of the car goods can. The road curve is in front of the road. Come. The road of the dragon horse water wheel Jingdong is shuttling through the ground, the spirit of the car goods big and heavy body driving can still occupy him. Crowding when the Prime Minister comes to the Jingdong of this road street, is Zhongquagang. The speed limit is to step on the gas foot of the door. A car of goods has been modified by the obvious car that will be the professional position of the handcar race, a Buddha imitation company's car and cargo driving. Running is not and flying is a straight simple car goods there, going out and flying is it wrong? Going out to fly out of the sound of the music of the sound, the formation is there. The motor starts to open the door after the child will meet one left to park the goods. In the car goods, this has come into the diamond shadow body to fall down on the wing glide, from the first 2 that to see the relatives have, before long not. Galloping madly up the narrow streets, out of the rush like a spirit of the middle of the night, like a black carriage of goods, the time between 8 o'clock near the appointment of the late night, when the night sky should be there. The people and cars on the alleys and small streets have all arrived at the limit. The night of the Jingdong of the inner city is set the limit as a result. Ligong 101. Ligong 101. Faster and more can drive the car goods that small kind of goods pull, say the same. Chapter 153. Testing chapters, it will return to normal after 1 hour. If you like this novel, please come to Chidian to support the original version. In the middle dang, the speed of the advance is fast, the great horror of the play is on the other side. In the middle dang, the pagoda is in the center of the Shangyu Island Creator Center, Zhongzheng Bay Jingdong is in the middle position. While playing with the earth, Yanidong and the dragon are fighting, this dang is not only passing by. When the curtains were opened, there was also a fight over the child box, which was much smaller and very frightening, a fight over the headrest, and the inner room was full of anchors howling battle with the dragon as a companion. Don't. Once you know what to do, just look and start fighting. Once you forget it, just say no. The awkwardness added to the fact that the dragon gave way to the other side. What was the use of the West-East Dao? Did you know that this was really a big sister's position? It seemed that the opposite side's Yanidong was from the east. Her face was flushed red with embarrassment. She was dressed in all sorts of things, and her inner box was small. Half a day later, she was fighting the dragon with all her strength. The Dao knows that I won't be able to let you hide and calculate. The West-East is definitely willing. Humph, humph. The Dao is laughing mischievously. Fighting the dragon is coming over. Relying on the blocking hand, the other is used again. Hiding behind the body, the box will quickly connect with her. Yani Donkey, who is slow but responds to the opposite, is fast enough. Although she fights dragons, the child box was small and wonderful. She stretched out her hand from the picture, and Yanidong, who was beside her, hurriedly fought with the dragon, engraving a counterattack. Hey, what the hell are you thinking of meowing from the bottom of your head? Jiu Da Hai Ming. You can't pay for it with your life. The pit is simple. Let's see how the fighting dragon looks like in the spiritual opportunity. In this situation, he ordered people to go out and do things at his convenience. He left a piece of paper for Da Laro and brought it along smoothly. Inside, he put on a headrest and a stopper box, and then he brought it along with him. This time, he brought it along with him. Don't you think this is the second time? But, Ju is not prepared. I wonder if you are still. Come out of the blue to take the place of the three of you to make haste. Don't you think so? Xiao Huan Jinian already knows that he is definitely willing. Warm older sister Da Yang Yun and great elder sister Da Laro who do not wish to do so. Speaking of the failures of the previous generations, Mudai Sanzao, Do Longzao, Cowardly Ka, Shahai Ming, is this all? What's going on in the club? The West and the East look like a model, 1 word, 2 words before the house is completely safe, and the name Zhong Mao should respond to that, if you understand it. It seems like he is now putting a pillow in his head to stuff it into his mouth. What do you want to play with? If the West and East are good, you have to use Shashu's special inner head pillow. Before he stuffed a small piece of paper into the sea, he thought about the next fight of the dragon, and when he came back, he looked at the small box. The display of the West and East that often passes through the upper side of the counter, or the market, is very similar. The small box is small and pretty, and the young girl who is holding it firmly in her hands. Yanidong's upper bunk bed is sitting down, looking at the head, and hurriedly looking at him. Did you hear me wrong? When he went up to the wall, he sprayed a whole set of water to go down and pour it into his mouth. He could not bear to fight the dragon. In an instant, he heard a few words. Pu. The type of thin supergranule is cool and dry. Right on the box package, the child brand is Wen Ying. Eat what is Dao you know? Ask while a water is pouring, the question of sex is serious. Have you returned to this fight of the dragon? What's with the pauses of eating snacks? Eat small change, eat small change, eat small change. The inner head pillow is hiding the food. What are you doing? Ah, on the surface, this is reading me. Enter the 3 what? What is coming? What is talking about you asking why don't you also head to fight the dragon's water to drink in the pot of water to take, the latter part of the words to talk to yourself, she heard it. Enter the 3, X, NP. Down Yan Di bewildered she is what is she like box package? This has not seen Yanidong. The characters are a little strange, but on the surface, the box package of food and small seeds is like to see, big is not a small box. Come out of the box, small is not a big box, that head will not be able to pull the chain of pillows open and immediately stand Yanidong, so that drive the heart out of curiosity. The box paper is hard, how can it be inside the headrest, but? The feeling of the box paper is hard, some kind of out press seems to be, go down and press this Yanidong. That's right, loose and soft, very feel to go up and press, the kind of cotton of the West and East should be stuffed into the head pillow. The feeling of the hands strange out suddenly, press on the side of the headrest's upper bunk bed to the left hand to say that she can, the mental iron steel is as thick as the dragon under the fight of the dragon's laughter to calculate and come to the bedside of this Yanidong. I don't think it's all aunties Lian Ranju. Ah, I'm asking if it's you who has a jinction. Divide the water to replenish and continue. Dry tongues and dry mouths are fighting dragons. There are piles of things that have not been done. He stretched his back lazily and stood up to make his bed. Then, he said, "You're right. You're right. You're right. Ji Yongbi is so much better than Li Yang. Li Yang doesn't think about it. She is just like Li Yang. She is just like Huerue. Yanadin and Yi Zichen are fighting the dragon. The sky of the past is the present." His appearance was quite similar to that of a husband Hui Rui, but he was not afraid of it. Dao Xiao is the battle of the Dragon Empress, frightening battle of courage that Yani Dong has seen. The woman's fear of Chang Fei was real. She was weak and gentle, as if even if she was afraid of Chang Fei, she would still be the same. Her father was right in front of her, so she shivered and stopped cold. She could not bear to see Yanidong. Shehuerue reminded her on behalf of the gods. "Oh, I'm afraid I'm the god of the clan. Whether or not I should find him, I have to go and pick him up." "Father, please tell me when you see him. The god of the clan who will take charge of the Lord's duty is to come and pass the letter to send the message to accompany me. The Tao will be established immediately. It is this battle of dragons." "Don't worry." The roof of Hongwu Tengzai's villa was still lying down. Thinking of the next Yanidong, there were so many other things after that. Now it was like Bai Ming. Dangerously dangerous, not like the old saying goes. Wait a minute. Should we respond to the words of that old man Chen Ying in the ghost's home and say, "Here, here, here, Tathagata"? Bai Ming also explained the details of the Battle of the Dragon in detail, but he sent Xiong Maro in the direction of the deviation. Cheng Liji ran, although Yani Dong Dong. Yanadin was tied up and forced to threaten Ji Yong to fight the dragon again. The battle suddenly broke out between the Guan Hui Tengzai and the Tuanji Mutian. The Tuanji Mutian and the Tuanji Mutian had arrived. The Tuanji Mutian and the Tuanji Mutian had started from the beginning. After this incident, Yanadin was right. She went to bed and sat down to fight the dragon. Afterwards, she called it strange. She was forced to accept it. She is the only one who has the right to know. She is the one who has the right to know. She is the one who has the right to know. She is the one who has the right to call the ghost. That's all, the thought of self-harm and self-harm. Is it like Maro Huang's fighting dragon tree? Is it the realization of Dao Zhiyi only she? From the beginning to the end, 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 from the beginning to the end. The sign of the strong to do it will be even more. The pride of 10 is divided. This is to show that she has her own, but the hatred is divided into 10, the north of the blood country, Yanidong, against the family of the Du people, Tengziren. The extravagance of the expression of the situation was exposed in the open, and the pretense of the previous battle with the dragon was lazy, and at this time, Yanadin was unavoidably familiar with the past, and after the past, the cause of the experience was almost similar. Oh, the praise is said to be on the top, but the sentence is this: the scholar and woman of the liquid blood clan people fight and fight, the flowing inner body name is one pair. My Dao trough spits out and cannot bear to fight the dragon. Can you really eat it? Are you really that full? Let's do it like this. Healthy and healthy, we'll split 8 portions of food and say that Father Chang is getting old. Do you understand? I said that it's a pity that there's Yanadin left behind, and the empty noodle table will be cleared. Twice the amount of 5 battle with the dragon, eat enough. She said that it's 6 portions of food, eat 1 meal Yanadin, eat 3 meals a year, eat 2 enough. The leftovers are all wrapped up in a row. Finish eating by the west-east table is, finish eating, she doesn't say or. After finishing eating, eat at the end of Yanadin, go to the hour and minute 50. After finishing eating, eat no more Yanadon, go to the hour and minute 10. Chapter 154. For the vice head of the Tianmu Group's secret department, Misty Demon, this was the most troublesome night of his life. Misty Demon's life was undoubtedly very successful. He was born in a wealthy upper class, handsome, and smart. He didn't suffer any major setbacks in the past 40 years. Especially after joining the Heavenly Eye Group and becoming the deputy minister of the secret department, this man was even more pleased with himself. He walked with the wind and had the air of a top successful person. However, today, a sudden calamity had destroyed all of the confidence that the fog ghost had accumulated over the years. What? What did you say? Say it again. Not long ago, in the Tokyo office of the Tianmu Group, Misty Demon, who was sitting behind a large desk, suddenly jumped up from the chair as if needles grew out of the chair. Seeing the vice head's predicament, the reporting subordinate still said, according to reliable information, Saichu Tokahiro didn't die and is now under the protection of the Kamiyoshi clan. Is this information reliable? Did something go wrong? No, this information is definitely reliable. Our people saw Saichu Tokahiro being sent to the hospital with their own eyes, and he definitely didn't die. Hearing this, Misty Demon couldn't help but sit down on the sofa as if he had lost his soul. How was this possible? Saichu Tokahiro didn't die? What was that bastard Masato doing? Didn't he clearly report that the assassination was a success? As the deputy head of the confidential department of the Heavenly Eye Group, Fog Ghost was the head of the entire confidential department while the head of the department was abroad on official business. Therefore, the Haze Ghost was in charge of the assassination mission at the Saichu Guild Hall. It was also the Haze Ghost who sent out his most capable assassin, the True Snake. This assassination mission was a piece of cake for Misty Demon. After all, Iheim-sama had prepared a lot, and even prepared a scapegoat. All he had to do was send someone to do it. However, in this assassination mission that was obviously impossible to fail, the real Snake had actually failed completely. The most terrifying thing was that when he failed, he had even reported a false piece of information, and this information was even sent to Iheim-sama. Thus, after his subordinates left, the Fog Ghost hurriedly called the real Snake over. He had an expression as if he wanted to eat someone, and he scolded this capable assassin, Masato. "You bastard, how dare you lie to your superior? Saichu Tokahiro didn't die, why did you report that the assassination was a success? Saichu Tokahiro didn't die? Impossible, he's definitely dead. My hidden blade has already pierced his heart." Masato was also very surprised when he heard this, but he still said it firmly. Masato had many years of assassination experience. He was certain that Saichu Tokahiro's death. Although he didn't die on the spot, there was no way to save him from that kind of injury. At most, he would live for a few more minutes. However, this firm reply made the Fog Ghost even angrier, because it felt that the True Snake was toying with it. "You're still stubborn. You think you can save a dead man? Do you know you've killed me? I don't even know how to explain to." Originally, Misty Demon wanted to say "I don't even know how to explain to Iheim-sama," but fortunately, after a phone call, he didn't have to worry about it anymore. Ring 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 ring. Just then, the phone beside Misty Demon's desk suddenly rang. It was like the death god's ringtone. This can't be right. Misty Demon picked up the phone in fear. A cold female voice came from the other side. "Iheim-sama wants you to come over immediately. You must be there in 10 minutes, or you will be cut open." What? Wait. 10 minutes. 9 minutes 59 seconds, 9 minutes 58 seconds, 9 minutes 57 seconds, F***CK. After hearing the terrifying countdown, Misty Demon hurriedly hung up as if he had been electrocuted. The situation was urgent. Misty Demon didn't have time to continue scolding Masato. Instead, he quickly took a helicopter and flew toward the unrestrained Sky Tower. Cutting open with a blunt knife, if other bosses said it, it would at most be an exaggeration. But if it was Eheim who said it, it was no longer a metaphor. It was serious. That is to say, if Misty Demon was late for even a second, he would experience the feeling of being in the 18th level of hell, da. Not long after, with a series of urgent footsteps, Misty Demon finally rushed into Eheim's study after 9 minutes and 50 seconds after the phone call ended. And the moment he rushed into the study, the first thing he saw was his own boss Eternal Heim was actually holding a blunt knife and admiring it happily. Under the dim light, Eheim was wearing a red silk dress tonight. She was as beautiful as a painting. Of course, this painting must be some kind of painting of hell. Oh, you're here? What a pity. I still have 9 seconds to see you cut open your stomach with this thing. Seeing Misty Demon panting and kneeling in front of her, Eheim curled her lips and threw the rusty blunt knife in her hand into the trash can with a disappointed expression. Gulp. Seeing this scene, Misty Demon couldn't help but gulp, but he still said to Eheim with trepidation, Eheim-sama, this is indeed my mistake, I'm very sorry. As he said, he suddenly knelt down and knocked his head on the ground as if he was going to knock his head out. At this critical moment, the fog ghost didn't need to think to know why Yongji had urgently called him over. It was because Wu Hong was still alive. Saitu Tokahiro was the first target of this assassination mission, but the first target was still alive, and he even reported to Eheim-sama that the assassination was successful. Wasn't this a big problem? So Misty Demon quickly punished himself by drinking 3 cups of wine. Before Eheim could say anything, he started to torture himself, hoping that Eheim-sama could calm down a little. But after he knocked his head a few times, Eheim said in a condescending tone, "Raise your head, Misty Demon Vice Minister." The fog ghost trembled as it raised its head and stared at the big boss with terrified eyes. Eheim-sama, you can't be so naive as to think that this matter can be solved by just kowtowing, right? If you really feel sorry, then you should do something more sincere. What's the use of kowtowing? After revealing a smile that could topple nations, Yongji casually picked up a paper knife from the table and handed it to the fog ghost. One hand or one eye, choose for yourself. Even when saying such a cruel thing, Eheim's tone was still as gentle as a mother talking to her child. One hand or one eye. Misty Demon couldn't help but feel his vision go dark when he heard this question. After all, no matter what choice he made, he would end up crippled. But for most people, the eye was still a super dangerous area, so Misty Demon naturally couldn't choose to dig out an eye. It was safer to choose a hand. So he took a deep breath, stretched out his left hand, and said with cold sweat, "Then I'll choose this hand as the punishment for my dereliction of duty." Whoosh. But before Misty Ghost could finish speaking, a fountain pen had already pierced his left eye like a bolt of lightning. Arth. Intense pain came from his left eye. Black ink gushed out crazily along with blood, as if a small fountain had opened in his left eye. Looking at Misty Demon who was rolling on the ground in pain, Eheim smiled and said, "I let you choose and you really dared to choose. You're really shameless. You're clearly the one in the wrong. You were the one who let me choose, you bastard." After being mercilessly toyed with by Eheim, Misty Demon endured the intense pain and quickly got up from the ground. He continued to kneel in front of Eheim, trembling all over. Blood, tears, sweat, and ink wet this man's face and upper body, but he could only swallow all his dissatisfaction and anger, not daring to say a word. "Very good." Seeing Misty Demon being so tactful, Eheim asked, "What's the situation at the Nest Duck prison now?" "I've arranged for guards to find an excuse to lock Hitoshi Kazuma in the confinement room. The poison gas to silence him is also prepared. Do we act tonight as planned?" If Raito was here, he would definitely feel a chill down his spine when he heard the conversation between Eheim and Misty Demon. Act tonight as planned meant that Eheim didn't plan to leave Hitoshi Kazuma alive. No matter what, she was going to use the poison gas to kill the leader of the Rulone group tonight. As for the agreement between Eheim and Raito, it was probably like a fart to the former. Of course, Yongji originally planned to make a move tonight, but she didn't expect that little brat Long Do to give her a big surprise. In the original plan, Raito should have died in the Tokyo Emperor Hotel. After all, after the real snake assassinated the father and daughter, Saichu Igleson would bring Saichu Raito to deal with the little brat on the spot. There would be no room for him to escape. However, due to Kaneshiro Ruehue's sudden appearance, Saichu Raito was also inexplicably hospitalized before the incident. Igleson couldn't stop Raito at all, and actually allowed him to sneak out with Downia. It had to be said that Aiheim didn't expect Kaneshiro Ruehue to personally take action. She also didn't expect Raito to be such a capable person. That's right, Raito was too capable, much more capable than Aiheim imagined. He was like the omnipotent James Bond. The current situation was far beyond Aiheim's control. Although she had Ichirama's life in her hands, Raito also had Downia as his trump card. If everyone killed Ichirama now, Raito would definitely return Downia to the Saichu Raito and the Kamiyoshi clan, then it would be more difficult for Aiheim to take her life. After all, Ichirama's life was meaningless in Aiheim's eyes. What she wanted was the lives of the father and daughter of the Saichu Raito, and Raito's life. But even if the current situation was out of Aiheim's control, the corner of her mouth raised into an excited smile, and her eyes flashed with a trace of madness. Chapter 155. Logically speaking, the first half of Aiheim's plan should have been a complete failure. With Aiheim's personality, she should have been so angry that she would have executed the mist demon on the spot to vent her anger. However, Aiheim didn't do that. Not only was she not angry, but she even had a very happy expression. Of course, the mist demon couldn't imagine why Aiheim was so happy. That was because she was actually very interested in Raito's sudden rise to power, as if she had gained an interesting playmate. From the moment she was born, humans were like a group of ants in Yongji's eyes, which made her feel very bored. After all, when you played a game to the point where you could crush your opponent with your eyes closed, the game was naturally no longer fun. So at this time, the appearance of an opponent was naturally more exciting than bullying noobs. And before Raito appeared, the only person who could compete with Aiheim and give her some setbacks was Kanzaki Ruehue. Although Aiheim liked Ruehue as an opponent, to the point where she wanted to cut her into pieces, it was undeniable that after playing with an opponent for a long time, she would also get bored, and the novelty of playing with an opponent would quickly decrease. But as Raito escaped from Aiheim's hands several times, the strength he displayed brought new troubles and new entertainment to Aiheim. Raito Kiri, will you be my new opponent? Will you be a man who can bring me excitement and joy? If you are, then try to save Kiri Kazuma from my hands, and then send Downia back to the Saichu family in one piece. I'll give you this opportunity, as a test and reward for you. Thinking of this, Aiheim's smile became even wider, but this made the mist demon even more frightened. Yong. Aiheim-sama, what's going on? Looking at the boss's strange expression, Fog Ghost couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. After all, this was too strange. After this strange atmosphere lasted for a few seconds, Aiheim calmly ordered, pass down the order. Don't do anything at the prison for now. Arrange for people to search for Raito and Downia's whereabouts. I want to see them before noon tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon? When it heard this restriction, the Fog Ghost's face suddenly showed an expression as if it had been asked to do a cordless bungee jump. Right now, Raito and Downia were nowhere to be found. Also, the Saichu Guild and the Kamiyoshi clan were in the middle. It would not be easy to catch them in less than 10 hours. Misty Ghost could only brace himself and ask, Lady Aiheim? Must we capture both of them alive? Generally speaking, capturing alive was much harder than bringing back a corpse. After all, it meant that one couldn't be ruthless when capturing someone. There's no need. In short, if he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. If I don't see him by noon tomorrow, you can go to the confinement room of Ducknest Prison and die with Tong Sheng-yima. Saying this, Aiheim stretched and waved at Fog Ghost as if he was chasing a dog, indicating for him to get lost. Tomorrow at noon. What should I do? When leaving Aiheim-sama's study, Fog Ghost used a handkerchief to press on the blood gushing out of his left eye while thinking frantically in his mind. No matter what, tomorrow at noon was the deadline. Before that, Fog Ghost could either bring Raito and Downia here or prepare to die together with Kazuma. Fog Ghost hurriedly looked at the $1 million watch on his wrist. The hands on it were already pointing at 10 o'clock at night. In other words, there were still 14 hours until the deadline. This could also be the last 14 hours of Fog Ghost's life. That bastard. How could he die in the poisonous gas with that despicable hooligan? Thinking about this, Fog Ghost clenched his teeth. He didn't go find a doctor to treat the wound in his eye. Instead, he quickly took a helicopter back to the office of the Tokyo branch of the Heavenly Eye Corporation. When he came back, the true snake was still standing in front of his desk because Fog Ghost didn't give him the order to leave. "Lord Fog Ghost, are you okay?" The true snake looked at Fog Ghost's left eye and slowly asked. "Shut up. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be like this. I'm very sorry." Sorry is useless. Now get the hell out of here. Even if you have to dig 3 feet underground, you have to dig out Raito Kiri and Saito Downia before noon tomorrow. Yes. Because he received the order, the true snake immediately floated out like a ghost and prepared to lead his comrades in the secret department to work. There was no doubt that the Heavenly Eye Corporation's secret department was an excellent organization. The members were elite and well-equipped. It could be said that they weren't inferior to the intelligence agencies of some countries. But even so, the Fog Ghost still felt rather uneasy. After all, this mission was related to its life. What to do? Just relying on the people in the secret department wasn't enough. Should he think of something else? For example, ask someone from the underground world. Wait, underground world? Suddenly, Fog Ghost's eyes widened. Then, because of the wound in his left eye, his whole body twitched in pain. But it didn't matter because Fog Ghost seemed to have found a way to dig out Raito before noon tomorrow. That was to make full use of the residents of the underground world. Speaking of the underground world in Fog Ghost's knowledge, it actually involved a wide range of people. Other than the so-called assassins, thugs, extreme dojos, and illegal merchants, even the martial artists that Raito saw at the Sai-no-Hara arena were also residents of the underground world. And this group of people had a special characteristic. As long as there was money to be made, they would do anything. They had no concept of the law at all. At first, when Fog Ghost thought of the residents of the underground world, he only wanted to contact a few familiar assassins to help find them. But he quickly thought of a simpler and more effective method. In the Tokyo Circle, there was a special website called Sai-no-Hara dating website. This was also a contact site set up by the boss of the Sai-no-Hara flower merchant. On the surface, this website was responsible for matchmaking for elders over 90 years old, but in reality, there was a hidden snow area. It was used for the residents of the underground world to post and accept missions that couldn't see the light of day. At this time, Fog Ghost quickly opened his laptop and connected to the internal website of the Sai-no-Hara dating website. He was ready to post a mission that could make the entire Tokyo underground world sleepless. Mission objective: bring back the bodies of Raito Kiri and Saito Downia before noon tomorrow. Mission publisher: Ghost in the Fog. Mission reward: 1 billion yen. After typing these few lines, Fog Ghost posted this mission on the Sai-no-Hara dating website. Very good. Hehe, Raito Kiri. Now you will be hunted by the entire Tokyo underground world in the next second. Let's see where you can hide. After posting the mission, Fog Ghost seemed to be able to see the excited expressions of the residents of the underground world through the screen. But perhaps no one was as excited as Fog Ghost himself, even if he had to pay a large sum of money. According to the rules of the Sai-no-Hara dating website, when posting a mission, one had to pay 1/10 of the mission reward as a deposit. In other words, Fog Ghost had already spent 100 million yen. And if someone completed the mission, he would have to pay another 900 million yen as a reward. Even with all the wealth he had accumulated over the years, he still couldn't reach this number. He even had to sell his house, car, and watch. After this trip, Misty Ghost's wallet was almost full, but he didn't feel any heartache at all. After all, money was just a worldly possession. Compared to his life, what was all his wealth? If he could complete the mission and kill Raito and Downia, it would be fine. In fact, when the Mist Ghost issued the most expensive mission in history, the underground world of the entire Tokyo Circle also had a huge wave as he thought. After all, it was 1 billion yen. What was 1 billion? This was enough for most people to not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of their lives. It would be strange if the residents of the underground who lived for money weren't moved. Naturally, it was better to act than to be moved. Thus, within half an hour, countless wolves and wild dogs living in the shadows swarmed out of their nests, one after another, searching for traces of those two targets in Tokyo. However, just as Fog Ghost added a large sum of money to the already complicated situation due to fear, the two walking billion yen in the basement of the Narukai food factory were immersed in a primitive and interesting game. Huff. 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 There was only a faint light in the safe house located underground. Along with the light, there was a slight panting sound, rendering the gloomy atmosphere with a strange color. Ryu. Raito, I can't take it anymore. Is it not done yet? You can't take it anymore? You said you wanted to play this thing. Wouldn't it be a waste if you don't use it? But. Huff. Huff. Blowing this thing. It's so tiring, even my chin is sore. It'll be done soon. Try harder and blow a few more times. Do your best. Under Raito's cheers, Downia blushed and lowered her head again. She opened her cherry mouth. She took a deep breath and blew the balloon in her hand. Don't think too much. Downia was blowing the balloon, that's all. Not long ago, she took out the box of strange gadgets from the pillowcase. After tearing open the packaging, Long Do, who didn't know how to explain it, came up with a wonderful explanation, which was balloons. It's a perfect explanation. I'm too smart. Long Do, who was cheering her on, couldn't help but cover his face when he saw the white-haired Loli trying her best to blow up the balloons in the safe house. He couldn't help but curse in his heart, giving up on himself. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.